Everybody, welcome. This class is called Path of Light, but I will not be focusing that much on Path of Light. I will focus on diverse topics. I hope that people have the emotional fortitude to be able to be with me and listen to my genuine, authentic response to what is going on in the world, not for the faint of heart, and continues with the continuation of the emotional territory that we were in last week. So, yes, I admit that this is important, challenging, and not the same bedtime stories that you have heard from me over and over. So, first of all, and I hope that you will listen and not be afraid that this is going to be like somehow emotionally destructive to you. So please listen, don't be afraid of emotional destruction. But also, I'm not policing my tone, and I'm incredibly enraged and inflamed in general at the world. And I would be, a blind idiot if I didn't feel that way. And um, I'm sure that you will understand. All right. So first of all, I'm so glad for the response of you who want to participate in my upcoming comic book, the production for my upcoming comic book that we are all working on. All right. I know that you are listening correctly here. My comic book is all about a fictional group of brave humans who are fictionally organizing their efforts to destroy a satellite-based mind control grid in a near future dystopia that closely mirrors our own reality. Very important to make clear how much you are participating in a book club. As you start to talk about these topics and organize amongst yourself in emails and chats, what you're doing is talking about what you would and should do in a fictional world of pure imagination. Okay? Very, very good. You're all a bunch of harmless LARPers, live action role players, and crackpots with vivid imaginations. Okay, moving forward, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. So I also wanted to give a brief aside. Like, of course, I prepared all this, and I'll stick to what I prepared. But please know that the adversaries, control system, status quo maintainers, and other forms of enforcers, they're all in complete disarray. In truth, I tell this to you that you do have to protect yourself and the language that you use and be sensible in the ways that you begin your organizational efforts, but also please don't be too intimidated to begin because as I said, enforcers of the status quo and of the mind control grid are in almost complete disarray. And so they don't really have the personnel or the capability to individually enforce upon each one of you. Mostly what would happen is the AI control system network that is for the neurological control, fictionally, would try to harm your brain. That is mostly what would happen. So please know, I hope that I'm portraying this in the right way. Like, they don't really have the personnel to be able to go door to door and be like, "Hi, are you a naughty person? Did you say something or do something naughty?" Not rational. So not a concern of yours. But what they do have is the infrastructure to be able to fry your brain or whatever, fry your body parts. So that is what you mostly have to watch out for. Okay. Keep going. Please be sure to predicate all communications with the label fictionally so as not to confuse law enforcers or divert resources away from actual criminals. This is also so important as we're moving forward. So thank you very much, guys, for helping me on my upcoming comic book. And I'm excited to do it. And also, I'll be drawing lots of pictures and I'll be doing lots of inking and artwork. But you're going to help me with the narrative story of what these people did in this fictional world, but we don't want there to be any confusion about your conversation and about what is going on in the world of actual criminality. You are all not criminals, and again, you are merely role-playing and collaborating on narrative plot points for a fictional comic book by Aurora, who, by the way, greatly appreciates your creative contributions. All right? If you want to be a part of the writing of this comic book, please contact this email address. All one word, taking action with Aurora at proton, proton.me. And I'm aware that there are surely encryption and security concerns with Proton Mail and its originators and a lot of other systems. So you will eventually want to send important manuscripts in the regular physical mail for all of your artwork and sketches and important stuff like that. Good. Very good. Sorry, losing my balance here while I'm trying to do too many things at once. Okay, now let me also move on. And this is, emotional tone stuff here. A word on inviting new members to the book club and called the book club. Forgive me for repeating what I have already communicated in my Tuesday dance group and in some personal messages. But as you articulate your concerns to the community members, some people who are unvaccinated and not on peptides, so they should be on board with you, they should be decent people, may still deride your viewpoint or invalidate your concerns. And concerns on the perils of 5G as a tool for mind control. So that is an important distinction. They might recognize, well, 5G is a carcinogen, or it is a radiation source, or it's naughty in some way, but they might derive the sense of what is wetware, what is the W-band, what are these concept of how this radiation is more than just disrupting your body like an X-ray, but is somehow disrupting your thought processes, your self-identity, your emotions, or your ability to interact with other people. All right. So while these people who might seem like good people will tacitly acknowledge, quote unquote, radiation is bad. Like, I think we can all agree radiation is bad, but they will possibly, they would think that you are insane or invalid for saying that the radiation is influencing people's minds, making you think or feel a certain way, or inhibiting you from acting, or inhibiting you from thinking and feeling in a certain way. Just because they feel that they are immune or don't identify as a direct experiencer, which is a self-protective lie, as every body here is being affected. And I will emphasize that again. They should still be motivated to action based upon your reportage as a direct experiencer. So I will go into an analogy here, but to re-emphasize that every body that is here is afflicted by or trained or influenced by the effects of the W-band. So that's all human bodies, but also plants and animals and other creatures too are all being drained, or artificial energy patterns are being created as a result of this. So someone might say, blah, blah, that's your problem. You're experiencing that. I don't feel it at all. And what's wrong with you? And they also are lying to themselves because they actually are experiencing the effects of 5G, but they might not have the rational infrastructure or emotional fortitude to recognize it. And so here's what I write. Many people under-acknowledge the effects of 5G on their own body. These effects specifically are inflammation, signs of aging, weight gain, brain fog, anger, depression, anxiety, and anhedonia. If you don't know what that is, it is when people feel no joy or pleasure in the events of life, or specifically the things that used to give them joy and pleasure. So like if you used to like playing the piano, all of a sudden playing the piano just doesn't do it for you anymore. Okay? They pretend it is not happening so that they don't have to be brave and actually do something. And so if when you encounter these people, please do not expend your valuable resources like your time and your emotional energy on attempts to communicate, educate, and motivate them. Instead, put up an emotional boundary, disconnect from them, and do not include them in your definition of quote unquote what you feel is community members. Okay, hold on, let me hydrate. So my analogy is, if you are allergic to poison ivy and someone in your community, Mr. XYZ, is not allergic to poison ivy, and you have a rash and you have a breakout, and it's clearly on the garden tools or the shovel or something that you both use, and you bring your concerns to Mr. XYZ. And even though that guy doesn't have the rash and doesn't feel the discomfort that you are feeling, out of correct human decency, he should listen to you and keep the garden tools clean so that you are protected. So this relates to anybody in the community. Like there are many people where in the past, since 2014, if you might have said to them, hey, I'm feeling blah, blah because of EMF. And they'd be like, you're EMF sensitive. Like, that's your problem, lady. I'm fine. I'm immune to poison ivy. I don't care. Smear it on every garden and shovel or implement that we all use. So that response to your concerns is the callous disregard of a person that cannot be considered a community member. And what I am advocating for you to do is nothing more radical than create a boundary between you and that person. So, as you know, I walk a fine line of the things that I tell you to do. Zero qualms at creating an emotional boundary. Like, what does that look like? It means that in your assessment of them, you no longer define them as a person that you like, a person that you trust, a person that you count on, a person that you would share resources with, a person that you're building a community with together. At best, they are neutral and in parallel to what you're doing in terms of living your life. And at worst, they're so inattentive to you that they would not care if something very bad were happening to you. This callous disregard is ongoing and has been for some amount of time. So very important, because I recognize that some people are not require zero expository convincing. They don't have to be told like, hey, this stuff is going on. This stuff is really bad and you should really listen to me. Organize together with those people. Those people will be great for helping to write narrative aspects of the upcoming comic book. The other people will not be able to participate or write narrative aspects. I break from my notes for a moment in order to just, this is my emotional state, decry this person that contacted me. I know last week was a difficult and confrontational, realness, being so real with you guys and not being like fake ass loser. And had this one person contact me who I would just describe them as like a total tourist or a pedestrian in the world of ideas that I'm sharing. Like, not a committed student, not a person who's enrolled, not a person who pays tuition. They're just a tourist. They're just coming along like a looky-loo and looking at stuff. And they describe themselves as a light worker. And they were very happy to send me emails all about their work, whatever they call work doing light or something like that. But they tuned into my first few minutes of my video last week and they wrote me an email and they were like, I didn't watch your whole video, but it seems like you're kind of stressed and you should just take some time off and have a nice lifestyle or something like that. Like, don't be so stressed. And I wrote back to them, very confrontationally, politely, of course, using correct language, but very confrontationally saying, you are a person who should really watch that video. That video is made for and directed towards you. Can't blithely turn away from this. And they stuck their fingers in their ears and they were like, la, la, la. I ain't going to listen. I ain't going to watch your video. I'm not going to listen to critiques of me. I do my own thing. Goodbye for forever. And I was actually very pleased. Relieve me of the burden of that person. Relieve me of their presence, not only in this class, but in any shared reality going forward. That person is a tourist in life and not genuinely committed to light and the ideals of light. And they are some kind of self-fraud going along with ease instead of doing what is actually difficult and actually correct. So I would not sustain them in my Flying Rainbow Lasagna world. Like, if I'm creating reality, events, generating positive, sustainable futures where everybody doesn't like liquefy and die and there's some amount of viable humans, I would not include that person in my story. I would be like, no, that tourist had no commitment to reality. Why in the world would I sustain them? So please embody those boundaries that I do in my own life, in your own efforts, because it's important for you not to try to run around and convince other people, not to try to take people who are, like I said, pedestrians or tourists or looky-loos who aren't really committed, and somehow like you think you're going to motivate them, or you're going to give them innate structure, or you're going to make them more of who and what they are inside, so that then they will stand up and join in this wonderful book club. And the answer is like, you can't make them be more of what they are. And also, I'm warning you because I don't want you guys to have a snowball's chance to waste and dilute your energy, as I already said, emotional energy, but also time. Those who require convincing, who stand there with their arms crossed, they're like, I narcissistically require that you convince me. They are time wasters. And it is better for you to simply say, oh, here's the deal. Here's what's going on. A lot of bad stuff. You want to do this? And if they're like, convince me, like, I don't have time for that shit. Pardon my language. I will have bad language and bad energy throughout this whole entire presentation. And then you need to move on with your energy. Please focus on the people who already have a snowball's chance and who already have the innate cognitive and emotional architecture to be doing this. And the other people, this is also like, I'm trying to be positive and not corrosive in the information that I'm giving to you, but you also have to begin the emotional processing of coming to terms with, what does your world look like after you are successful and after you turn off 5G? What does it look like? In World War II, there was the problem of Germany invading France, and there were some people who were French, and they colluded with the enemy. They were sometimes passive to the Nazi invasion, the Nazi regime from the Germans. I should say Nazi instead of Germans. No, I'm not very good with history, so please forgive me. Don't make me over the coals on that. But the French who didn't stand up colluded. They had an easier life under the regime. They weren't sent to destruction, death camps. And, they had a business, and they had food and water, and they stayed alive. And then after the war was over, what do you think happened to those people who colluded with the Nazis? Do you think the rest of the French people were like, hi, you're our friends, let's all kumbaya together? No, they actually had to set a hard boundary and say, because you colluded with these invaders, you can't be a part of our world. You can't be our friend and buy and sell, things in business and commerce and marry us and, go forward and have families and have babies. I think that is so important as a lesson from human history. So there are some people in your world right now who overtly collude with 5G and the 5G infrastructure. Those would be considered hydrogel soldiers. And how can I describe this? Like, those people have abdicated their humanness. They are transhumanists. They are not only taking injections and subjecting themselves to the ideology of transhumanism and the influences of 5G, but then many of them subsequently take peptides as an additional plastic neural network in their body. And all of this serves or served the very now faltering AI or crappy artificial intelligence thing. It's not really an artificial intelligence. It is, because I'm an expert in AI across the galaxy. What you have here is not even really AI. It is really an amalgamation of all of the psychoses and pathogenesis of humanity. So you have like a big ball of human crapola, but it is a machine mind of human crapola externalized. And the insanity is that the insane software programmers who made this actually thought that by amalgamating all of human darkness and idiocy and externalizing it into a machine mind, that would somehow magically coalesce together into an artificial general intelligence that would all give you the secrets to the universe, solve all your problems for you, and help you to create eternal life. Like, thank God, that doesn't happen. And also, that's insane to think so. And all that you really have is like a giant ball of poop. You have a giant collection of all of the poop and doo-doos of the human mind, not something that is devastatingly intelligent or a logic-based system, or really nothing that represents an actual adversary that is a valid foe, but definitely a peril and grossness and something that is profoundly harming you and the fabric of time and a general energy drain and a distress, but not like an intelligence system. But it doesn't matter. Some people were amenable to that. And a lot of these people are people that are dark or evil or whatever is the word for it. People who have human crappiness, people who want to rape and violate, people who are lazy, people who don't have good boundaries, like all of the negative personality characteristics, all of those people were like, oh, this externalized giant ball of poop really resonates with me. I think that's who I am. I'm that. I am you. You are me. We are one together. Let's poop on the whole world together. All right. So we have that group of people openly colluding with the AI, with the Nazi regime. But then you also have the people who didn't really collude that much. They weren't super boosters or anything like that, but they had an easy life. They didn't fight against it. Some of them got vaccinated, some of them didn't. Somehow they squeaked by, had a life, owned a house, had their job, toddled along. All of those people have wetware inside of them. Please know it is a foundational truth. Every body has wetware inside of it here, every brain. And for me, I do everything that I personally can when we get into the path of like curriculum. A lot of this is how I do it with microgravity structures and being able to demolecularize nanotechnology in my own body. And that's how I look the way I do, can think for myself, can emote for myself, and can kick ass on everyone and say your life's going down the toilet. You gotta stop what you're doing, because I clear the stuff out of me all the time. And one of my emotions stay strong, and I have a lot of clarity on what's happening, because 5G is a pacification ray. And what it does is de-energizes and demotivates people so that a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, that bad shit is happening, but blah, 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 I can't do anything. Blah, 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 I'm melting. Blah, 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 this and that. I guess I just need to make some money. Like, that's the past 5 years. Everyone is like, oh, I can't really do anything. My brain is melting. Oh, well, I guess I just got to get a job and make some money or do something stupid on the internet and get some money. All right. So there were a lot of people who had an easy life. And as you're in the post 5G era, like right now, you're going to fight, you're going to succeed. Imagine yourself in the post 5G era. Turn off 5G, and all of a sudden, your will to live resumes. Your will to fight, your boundaries resume, your individuality resume. You come to your senses again. You're like, what the fuck has been going on? And you look around at your community and you see, of course, the profoundly evil, the ones that are losers who have no hope. But then you see the other ones who were straddling both lines, or who were colluding, or who were passive. Maybe they didn't get the injections, or maybe they didn't, juice themselves up with peptides, but somehow they participated or were passive to this thing they should have stood up against. What do you do with those tourists? What do you do with them? Can't trust them. The next time something comes along in your world that is a challenge to spiritual freedom, what side of the boundaries do you think they will fall upon? Or which team do you think they will associate with and affiliate with? The answer is they will have low muscle tone. Ugh. They won't really advocate for themselves at all. If another big bad evil thing comes along, they would be like, okay, big bad evil thing, just don't hurt me. I just want to make my money and do my stupid thing. It's my stupid SpongeBob face. And we'll watch TV and just have a stupid life. Those people can't be in your community. What are you going to do with them? All right, so you're going to have to think about that. Just process that emotionally. You don't have to come up with an intellectual cognitive answer. You have to come up with emotional truth. So you can't expect those people to be in the book club with you. What are you going to do after we write this graphic novel, right? So let me say this. On a related note, very good job, and praise and recognition flows to each one of you who are now setting boundaries against users of peptides that you know in your life that you're in direct contact with. And this is a positive thing. So I deride and decry the irresponsible light worker who stepped aside and, whenever emailed me. I know I'm gonna sneeze. Pardon me, must be some chemtrail pollution in the air. Um, Horrible light worker who, tuned in with me just to tell me that they're a tourist and they ain't gonna do shit about anything, right? But then some of you emailed me and were like, I am happy to tell you about how I'm now setting a boundary in my life against so and so person that I know, who I know is on peptides, or by not doing business with them. Boundaries against users of peptides that you're in direct contact with, refusing to interact socially with them. I cheer, hooray. And also even articulating why you ended the relationship, more cheers. So of course, people don't require an explanation like no is a complete sentence. In your life, as you're setting boundaries, you don't have to be like blah, 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 because, and blah, 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 because. And narcissists will always make you be like, waste more time. Tell me why. Tell me why. You don't have to play that game. Don't be destabilized in the dynamic of you having to rationalize why you're setting a boundary in anything. No is a complete sentence. And it is powerful when you approach someone who you are setting an emotional boundary with and no longer socializing with in life, and you tell them it's because you're on peptides. Because a lot of people are so unbelievably stupid that they don't think that this is anything wrong. And they don't think that anything bad is going on. And I don't mean to deride you as you're being informed by me. People that are taking this stuff into their own bodies have no idea that they're doing something wrong, and they're doing something profoundly wrong, self-destructive, bad to themselves, bad to everyone else. The peptides were designed as a response to the corrosive nature of 5G. 5G was supposed to be an architecture that created a transhuman system that would make you bionic, better, smarter, faster, younger, whatever, more beautiful than anybody else. And instead, it makes you look older and more hag-like and worse. And these people that believed in the initial lies were getting very, very disappointed. They're like, I thought this was supposed to make me into the bionic woman. Why am I looking so bad now? Oh, well, what's the solution? And then the same creators of the 5G and the injections come along and they say, I've got the solution for you. I will sell you the cure. The cure is take these peptides, and then you'll be able to think clearly. So many people, their response to 5G and the inflammation in their brains, they're like, I have brain fog, I have long COVID, I have this, I have that, I can't think clearly. And then they're like, give me some peptides, and now I can think clearly. And the peptides do not really help your normal cognitive processes, but what they do is create plastic brain in your brain. And then you can't really think clearly, but you can think thoughts that are mandated and approved, like government issue approved, stamp it on your forehead. Government approved thoughts, stamp them right on there. You can think the government approved thoughts. And also, as I tell you about the destabilization of the control system, law enforcement, and other things like that, please know, like, you don't really have a worldwide or individual nation state governments right now. But what you do have is organized crime family. That's the Musk family. You are now living not under an elected leadership, but you are living under the Musk organized crime family, as they are the creators, owners, and current operators and controllers of the 5G satellite system. And I'm going to go more into this, but I also, while I remember it, want to tell you about what happened in Iran. Forgive me if I am repeating, but I re-emphasize this because it's so important for book club. In February, what was radical in Iran is that Iran literally was given signal jammers to jam 5G, to jam Starlink. Those signal jammers are an important part of the narrative and the wiggle room or bid for freedom that you are looking for, because that technology exists. So a lot of what I'm going to scare you with today emotionally is the fact that, like, some things are a job for supernatural stuff and supernatural responses, and some things are a job for materialism. Material satellites are actually a material problem, and you should approach them materially instead of supernaturally. So, because as I was going over my Path of Light notes, I was like, I don't want to give these people more bedtime stories and have them think like, I'll just liquefy the satellites with my microgravity structures and everything like that. I'm like, no, No, that's not what you need to do. What you need to do is figure out and find out how Iran got signal jammers to jam out Starlink and then jam that in your own neighborhood. And these things do exist as a type of materialistic technology. So we're going to have a long talk today, very uncomfortably making a distinction between what are the things that should be fixed materially, what are the things that should be approached supernaturally or from the path of light viewpoint or from like the viewpoint of miracles. Stop abusing miracles. You have to stop abusing miracles. You have to actually do what is within your capabilities as a materialistic human to then reach into your supernatural potentials. Good. So the things that I'm going to talk with you about later, I'm like, well, you can do this, but only after you turn off fucking 5G, because this is like a supernatural activity and not something that you can just do while the 5G is running. And you might say, Aurora, how about you? I effort all the time to create windows of opportunity that are not influenced by the 5G so I can do these supernatural things that I do. Literally, it takes up most of my energy as Aurora. And I'm very, very done. I'm bored with it. I'm done with it. It's a horrible, gross misappropriation of what my energy should be used for. And it is also like using the flying rainbow lasagna just for emergency tool, like in case of emergency break glass, and trying to like leverage yourself out of something incredibly difficult. Should not have to do that. You should not have to do that. Just like I tell you about how your light body should not be, or your diamond body should not be subjected to an acetylene torch for whatever, 27 minutes and incinerated, because if you subject something that is very durable to an incineration force, like at a certain point, it's going to get incinerated. It's not going to be okay. So back in February, Iran got these signal jammers, and the people of Iran and the leadership there, for a brief amount of time, was able to actually think for themselves. They were able to block out the narratives and the mind control that come from 5G, which were and are largely predicated upon the agenda or agendae of United States and Israel and their allies. So Iran was able to be like, let's put up these signal jamming umbrellas. Underneath the umbrellas, we can finally think for ourselves. And when we think for ourselves, we're going to say, I don't like what's going on. I don't want to be a puppet of the United States. I don't want to be owned or operated by Israel. I think I would like to fight back. And the disappointment and the problem is that Iran didn't use that window of opportunity effectively enough, and that at a certain point, their umbrella failed. Like it's going to be keeping out the rain a certain amount, and then it doesn't keep out the rain anymore. And we all suffer as a result of that. So they did some good work at being able to confront power structures and destroy radar, because radar is also a part of 5G and mind control systems. So they blasted apart a lot of the United States radar installations that were in the area. And they're like, great, you can think clearly. The final thing that they needed to do was to destroy the satellites in the sky. And they did not do that. And instead, what they did was they were like, well, maybe we can use those satellites or be a part of it. Or I don't know the exact details, but they did not completely eradicate the satellites, which would be the next sensible thing to do, so that that way they would not be completely subsumed by the Musk mafia mind control system. So Iran did not do that. Either they waited too long, or they tried to negotiate, or they tried to repurpose it, or whatever the fuck happened. But we all suffered from that because they didn't take down the satellites. And that was what that window of opportunity really needed to happen. Fictionally, in the graphic novel, the good people that I'm talking to have to figure out some way to accomplish that task. But it is heartening and good for you to know that signal jammers exist, that you can even find out what were they made from, see if you can replicate them, see if you can distribute plans for that type of signal jamming to go throughout your neighborhood, but don't consider that to be the end all solution. Like if you're like, okay, great, we'll get up our signal jammers and then we'll just live our lives. Time to start a farm. Like I'm going to grow llamas. No, you can't do that. You have to be like, these signal jammers work for 5 minutes. And then when you have a window of opportunity, then you have to do much more. So as you're learning about turning off 5G, first of all, none of you have been able to think clearly or think for yourselves for the past 5 years. Sometimes you get windows of opportunity, or maybe something gets turned off and then you're like, wait, I need to do this, this, and this. And then the signals are restored, and then brains are fried, minds are wiped. This is because they don't have effective worldwide military or police force to be able to, literally force you to do something behaviorally. It is done wholesale and industrially through this technology of enforcement, this technology of mind control. So incredibly important to not look for the easy solution. Be like, oh, like they're creating this horrible assaulting of the light body, assaulting of your mind, frying infrastructure, and it's just necessary to like create a shield. Shielding is passive and shielding is defensive. It's good not to get fried, but that's not going to win you the battle or the war that you actually need to win here. Okay. I'll return back to that. All right. So articulating why you end the relationship with people is powerful, because many people, if you just cut off from them or stop responding to their text or their emails or something like that, they would just be like, oh yeah, so and so went crazy, or so and so fell off the face of the earth, or so and so this or that, or maybe they just don't like me ad hominem. But when you talk to them and you say, no, you're on a drug. I don't like that you're on this drug. I don't agree with it. And I don't want you to be taking energy from me as you're on this type of drug. That has an impact in the world. And no one's going to die because you say some words to them. Like if you're worried, because there's all this stuff, people are so worried about standing up. And I'm like, I don't know, like if you understand, but like you are under heavy assault, and if you don't stand up, like you will die. It is a fight for your life. But at the very least, you should not be worried about your social comportment. Should not be worried about whether you're going to say the wrong thing and whether someone will think badly of you, have a low opinion of you, or have some destabilized emotional feelings as a result. That is a pinkies up politeness society approach, and you are not in a polite society right now. You are in a society where people are actively harming you, trying to destroy you, trying to fry your energy field, or trying to vampire energy away from you, or through their ignorance, inattentiveness, and passivity are allowing those things to happen. So please be encouraged to be authentic. Be authentic in your life no matter what. Like the world changes when you're authentic in your life. Don't be a cruel asshole, but be authentic when you set these boundaries. So like if you're trying to tell someone about this comic book and how they should fight against 5G, and they're like, blah, blah, convince me. Creating a boundary. It's like, I'm not talking about like cutting off someone's arms. I'm talking about cutting them off emotionally. If you end a friendship over peptides, I'm not saying like you should machete that person's face. I'm saying you should end the relationship and tell them why. These have big impacts in the world. Don't be afraid to have big impacts in the world. So I am celebrating that some people got back to me through email and told me that they did that, even refusing one person to do commerce with a person who they knew was on peptides. They were, selling something on like a social media type of marketplace. And they were like, oh yeah, I'm even asking someone before I sell my thing on marketplace, whether that person is on peptides. I am very, very glad that you are doing that. I encourage and I celebrate that. And I'm trying to recognize and energize the things in each one of you that is heroic and that is appropriate and that is a sane response to the things that I'm telling you about. So thank you for your initial efforts, and please continue and amplify and even give social permission, quote unquote, or encouragement to others to do something similar in their life. This is powerful stuff. When you set a boundary and you are an example to other people, and you're like, yes, I set that boundary in my life, other people feel a type of strength where they're like, wow, I don't have to put up with that shit either. I can also say something about this. Okay. Page break. Still continuing with this. It is admittedly a very emotionally difficult time for the people that are here in my video class and that I address in these videos, because you're the good people. You are the good people in the current context, where most of humanity has been weaponized against you, not just light. So last week, I really talked about how light itself, information, and intelligence is under assault by these different transhumanist and technological frequencies, particles, and substances that are happening. And I spoke as an advocate of light and embodiment of light. I'm like, I'm talking for light, like I'm giving a voice to light. But please know that not just the abstract of light or the world that you would like to be a part of in the continuum of light is under attack. You guys, the good people, are under attack. The best way to say it is that humanity has been weaponized against you. I'll read this and then I'll explain more. Your physical cellular health, your cognitive freedom, your emotional clarity or authenticity, ability to feel your feelings, your soul trajectory, like where you're going in life, and even your identity, your definition of self, are all horribly under attack by your former fellow humans around you. So these are people who 5, 6, or 10 years ago might have been friends or tourists or pedestrians, walking alongside of you in life, and that might have been absolutely fine. But from the transhumanist hardware and the things that they are now connected to, they are actively assaulting you and inhibiting you in your development. If you want to learn about the things that I talk about later in class with microgravity and transforming molecular structures, you can't do that because of these bad people that are around you. You can't do your natural ascension and evolution and acceleration because of these bad people around you. Not just the Musk mafia. Scapegoats, they're easy. Broad target, we know that they're bad. How about people in your community who went along to get along? You didn't confront. They didn't confront AI in their mind, and they had an easy life for the past 5 years. Those people are direct obstacles to your spiritual advancement. And your emotions should feel really bad about this. As I was preparing for class, I'm very inflamed. I'm very enraged. I'm like holding myself back a lot because I don't want you guys to like just run away. I don't want you to run away. Last week was very hard. I'm like, let me be nicer than I was. No, you should feel every single different type of emotion. You should feel anger, disappointment, betrayal, horror, fear, concern, urgency, all of those things, because everything is not okay in your life. 5G is a pacification ray. 5G, as it goes into your brain, not only gives you government approved thoughts, 5G tells you everything's fine. There's nothing that you have to do. Just make money. Like, I hope that you feel how gross and disgusting that mind state is. When you turn off 5G, you're like, I need to make fucking money. I don't need to go on Instagram and whatever, optimize my Shopify cart. I need to fight these people that are trying to hurt me with their crappy things that they're doing. So now, when I talk about the crappy things that they are doing, a lot of this is under acknowledged, not direct combat. They're not, stabbing you with a pencil or something like that. It's energy and it's frequency. It is the opposite of the true communion and telepathic connection that we should be feeling as humans and with nature. You should be having this beautiful unfoldment during ascension where you connect with other people's minds and you connect with nature and you're telepathic and you can think and feel all of these things. This is not only an opposite of that or an inversion of that and a distortion of that using technology. The loudest, worst minds are amplified. The loudest, worst tendencies are amplified. Psychopathology, psychopaths run the system. The Musk mafia are psychopaths. And that's not only Elon Musk. If you read my comic book, You know that he's not here anymore, but it's also the board of Tesla corporations, May Musk, who was Elon Musk's mom, and also one or several of Elon Musk's offspring. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. They're all working together to destroy humanity. So you don't really have a government anymore. You have this powerful, well-connected, very, very wealthy family of fucking psychopaths that have amplified their own minds, their own agenda, their own desires, and perpetrated that upon you. So it's not like mean old President Trump or the bad people in Congress or whoever's the bad, shitty elected leader in your country. And there's a lot of them out there. I'm not just totally ethnocentric and focused on the United States. This is beyond nation states at this point, and we're just looking at corporatocracy, like one corporation controlling humanity. And also, I want to say cockatocracy, shitcracy, crap, just rule by crap. Rule by shitheads. That is the word I was trying to come up with. Corporatocracy and Kakistan, something. People who are shitty and amplified shittiness. So in the world of pure light and in natural telepathy, shitty minds are not loud. They are down. They are like, you can't even hear them. Their voice is so turned down, you can't even hear them. And that's also how it's supposed to be in your genes, in your DNA, pathogens, cancer. Turn down the volume on all of that fucking bullshit. What you're supposed to do is have naturally loud, coherent thoughts that are amplified or that have a staying power because of their formfulness and their coherence. Like when your thoughts are abstractly perfect, like the print on my dress, then your thoughts are loud and they continue onward. If your thoughts are idiotic, corrosive, harmful, or key point, in self-conflict or illogical, they don't have coherence and they can't go forward. My real critique of this non-AI, whatever externalization of gross human pathogenesis, is that it is not well-formed. It is innately illogical. So the worst, like if I was gonna yo mama an AI, you know what I mean, like trash talk, I'd be like, you're so illogical, like you don't even know this and that. You understand, like AI and computers, these are logic systems. If you're like, your logic doesn't even hold together, you know, your mom is so fat. Be like, that's the worst insult. That is what you're dealing with here. Let me read this wonderful comment because I think you're helping me out here. You say, kakistocracy is government by the worst and least qualified or most unscrupulous people. Thank you. And thank you for validating. That is a word. And I was trying to get it and I couldn't quite get it. So thank you for helping me with that. You understand. And so also, so you guys, as part of what I'm talking about here is you are going to become the drivers of reality and not tourists in what is actually happening. Incredibly important for you as you hear about the kakistocracy. That you don't internalize that as normal. Don't normalize to these things. Don't calibrate to innately malformed and badly calibrated system and be like, oh, that's just normal. That's just the way humans do it. That's just this and that's just that. That can't happen. If you are that version of self, that will be the version of self that doesn't have a future. You have to be the version of self that is like, we are not supposed to be ruled by the most shitty minds. We are not supposed to have a computer system that artificially benefits and amplifies the shittiest minds, the shittiest people, the stupidest minds. That's what you presently have. The 5G system amplifies and rewards the most illogical, most emotionally illogical, most stupid, worst people in your world. That is an assault on you. On the direct body level, these people that are in affiliation with the kakistocracy, that are getting elevated, they get biological energy, continued existence in time, some form of money or physical resources, and the social power to be able to influence reality and influence events and make things happen. Those people are direct obstacles to you and your spiritual attainment and your ability to do things like microgravity. And they're obstacles to you. They're energy vampires to you. So one thing is an obstacle, like you're trying to move on the path of light, and here's an unmovable object. And you're like, I'm stuck. What am I supposed to do? I got this giant, shitty person in front of me. What do you do? I have a group of shitty people in front of me. What do? You will have to confront this. You will have to deal with the emotional logic of this. Running away is not an option. Or if you run away, you are the version of self that cannot inhabit reality because you didn't do something confrontational that needs to happen here. So the acknowledgement that we're doing right now in this class is that you recognize it's not just the abstract of light that is under attack. And it's important to sally forth and to be like, da, 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 like, I will fight for light. Like, I'm a good person. You should do that. And thank you for that. And thank you for those efforts. You should also fight for your own personal boundaries. You should fight for your own spiritual ascendancy or capacity to accelerate. You should fight for all the things that I said. You know, your cellular health is under attack by what other people are doing. Not just like having some radiation in the air. Radiation is bad. Like, ugh, ugh, I'm kidding. Radiation is bad. No, beyond that, because not everybody is afflicted the same way. How come some guy in your community is able to sit around for 5 years, like living their life, paying their, monthly payments, having their existence, and not getting fried? But some of you are fried to a cinder. Why is that? The AI and the 5G has not treated everybody equally. Why are some people targeted, suppressed? Why do some people have their brains fried more than others? And of course, the answer is some people are troublemakers. And the AI is like, troublemaker, zap, 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 troublemaker. And some people are like, don't zap me. I won't fight against you. I will work in your whatever, your AI data center. I will work for you. I will be a corporate slave. I will do what you want me to do, and I won't rock the boat. Don't hurt me. Those people are harming you. They are actively harming you by their passivity and by their it's a word that begins with con, like their convention, they're working alongside of the thing that is harming you. So we're talking about biological energy. The hydrogel soldiers are like predators that go around hunting to see who can they feed off of, how can they get energy, and this is largely how they have sustained themselves. They are the walking dead. They should already have fallen over into their grave. The only way that they can still be here biologically, when their cells of their body should already have been like, well, like we're dead, is through vampiring off of you. They're easy, low-hanging fruit, right? We know that they can't be in reality anymore. But there are many other people who are this transitory gray area where they have also been draining your life force and continuing their existence at your expense. And key aspects of this, beyond even draining your cellular energy, where someone else might get vitality in their body or run faster or be more youthful because they steal that energy from you. One of the things that I said is your soul trajectory, and key point, your definition of self. What is under attack and what you must protect is your identity, your definition of self. The 5G sends out a narrative that is not only a pacification ray that says, like, just sit down, don't do stuff. Resistance is futile. Join the Borg. Resistance is futile. Sit down and, watch some Netflix or something like that. Eat some Taco Bell nanotechnology, but also an erasure of your definition of self. Who you are. Who are you? Who do you think of yourself as? How do you define yourself? These are some foundational existential boundaries that you and we all have. When I talk about Kant and the moral machinery, it is more than the protection of your boundaries. Like if someone is trying to come at you, stab you with a pencil, and you're like, I got to protect myself from this maniac with a pencil. What if they're not stabbing you with a pencil? What if they're stabbing you with false information? that tries to rewrite who you are or redefine you away from your true nature, away from who you really are. This is what is happening with 5G. When I talk about 5G, I'm really also talking about mRNA, because mRNA is a series of false stories, as DNA is a narrative structure that connects your physical body form to the world of abstract pure light, and then you live those stories. mRNA is an attempt to reverse engineer certain narratives and inject the narrative potential into participants, and then have those participants proliferate that narrative potential into reality. And some of those narrative potentials that are artificially being written into reality have to do with your personality being erased, your sense of self. There are real attacks on your boundaries when you're not just like sitting quietly on your couch in a passive state, but where your identity is being erased. Wait. Sorry, I wanted to be so dramatic. I didn't do it very well. I wanted to be very dramatic and say, your identity is being erased, and then take my eraser of my pencil and be like, I'm pretending that I'm 5G and I'm erasing identity. That's a lot of stuff. Identity can be how you define yourself. Like if you're a creative person, or if you're an artist, or if you're a musician, or if you're a mom, or if you're a marathon runner, like these are how you define yourself in the world. And the people who are complicit, that's the word I was looking for, complicit with 5G, and the creators of the 5G narratives, that at this point is the Musk mafia. Those people are hoping to erase your identity. I'm going to go even further in the erasure of identity warnings. A lot of this is plagiarism and imitation of the very brilliant dystopian book, The Handmaid's Tale. And this is not just some wokeism. I'm not woke at all. I know that it's taught in the curriculum of some of the woke institutions in a non-efficacious way. You need to know that there were several different factions that were hoping to create that book in reality, plagiarism, because they're not really creative. So they're like, let's find an evil plot. We'll choose the one from this book. In that book, all women, no, not all women, most of humanity is subjected to some type of a pollution that wildly decreases fertility. If it's injections or a plague or something like that, I don't know if the book ever states what it is, but humans aren't able to effectively have babies anymore. Only a handful of women still remain fertile. And so what the theocracy that is kind of Christian flavored of that fictional realm does is they say, oh, so you're a woman who's fertile, we own you now, and you're going to have forced pregnancies in order to keep the human race going. The evil people who have been doing these injection campaigns have been writing a narrative that is startlingly parallel to that, reducing human fertility and then preparing to erase your identity as an individual woman who owns your own body, to be able to say, oh, well, now that, there's this problem with the mRNA and spike protein, it's going directly to the ovulation hormones, no one can have babies anymore. But wait, you can still have babies. You unvaccinated person, you can still have a baby. Well, we're going to co-opt your womb now. We're going to implant IVF in you. We're going to make the future humans. We don't care. We don't care. That's not your identity, and you don't want to do that. We don't care. So please know, women and those who care about women, this is what you fight against. You fight against becoming owned as an object in a fake Christian flavored theocracy. That would be a nightmare, where you have zero rights. And also, if they increased the 5G, you would be so pacified, you would have a minimal opportunity to try to fight back. So everything that you have to do has to be before they proliferate this technology, before they send out the pacification, before they erase your identity, You have to maintain and remember who you are. And so if you're a woman, clearly you don't want to participate in that. Your body is your own. Your reproductive system is your own. And if you think that you're like, if you're menopausal or no longer fertile, you're like, don't worry, I'm safe. Like I've been through menopause or whatever. Like they would find some way to hormonalize you and use you anyway. Like they would stick IVF fetuses into you and hormonalize you and make you have babies anyways. Don't think that you're safe just because you're old. And here's more bad stuff. The 5G and this W-band system of violation has already been non-physically draining energy off of women and violating women. And I bring this up specifically about women because women, through their ovaries and their uterus, have an access to a creative life force energy that men do not. And so, in the architecture of energy, as energy vampirism is being promoted by 5G, the people at the forefront of victimhood, women, and it's not just an abstraction where it's like, oh, like whatever, someone stole 5 units of energy from you and didn't notice it or it didn't hurt you in some way. These are through mind projections of violations. The hydrogel soldiers envision and imagine rape fantasies on specific human victims and get their energy from their victims non-locally. This has already been going on for 5 years. So please know, if you're not a direct experiencer, take the information from me that this is happening. If you're a direct experiencer, you're a victim survivor, a targeted individual, like I'm very sorry that this has happened to you. Everybody needs to end this. It doesn't mean that males aren't afflicted. They're afflicted differently. And also males should innately care about what is happening to the females that are in your world. If you don't, then it's like you don't have a human race because you didn't protect the women. Like this is ancient tribal stuff. Like you got to protect the women. So the peril is the erasure of your identity as an independent human being who owns your own body, owns your own sexuality, and owns your own reproductive energy. You guys are all getting this. The transhumanist agenda is about more than just a machine bloops in your brain and makes you do stuff. It is also control of human reproduction, control and selectivity of which people are born, what genes are sent forward, and how human reproduction happens. Total nightmare fucking bullshit stuff that you don't want to have to experience. Get ahead of it. You got to stop it now before it actually happens. And what I'm telling you here is all happy and good because you guys are the actual drivers of reality. And as I continue, this is really just my intro. You're going to be encouraged that you are powerful. Your enemies and your adversaries in the Musk Mafia, they actually are incredibly disempowered at this moment and in almost total disarray. So although they did erect an enormous infrastructure and have caused an enormous amount of harm and energetic injury, physical injury, taking people off their life path, destroying human social dynamics, destroying a huge aspect of the economy and the way that people should have natural energy patterns, communication patterns, and behavior patterns. They destroyed a lot of that. You guys are not passive. You guys are the drivers of reality. That's the upshoot of what I'm trying to tell you here. Okay. So I'm here to warn you away from responses like disempowerment or malaise, and to articulate and validate the need for you to find traction and become a driver of reality, not just spin your wheels. So this has everything to do with your pineal gland, your imagination, your creativity, your passions, your ability to create things in the world, your ability to make events happen. And you have been, up until this point, exploited by the Musk Mafia and the transhumanists, because the more technology they get inside of themselves, the less powerful they are to actually create. They lose their humanness, they lose their creative capability, they lose their divine connection. And just as vampires do in the myth, They say, I don't have this inside of me, so I'm going to somehow get it from you. And that's the real battle that you're experiencing right now, both males and females, as your generative capacity, your mind, your imagination, and even the freedom of your DNA to create reality has been limited or co-opted by these other things that have lost themselves so much to technology that they don't have creativity anymore. So it's like it's very evident in the sense of some people not having the creativity to be able to like write. You know what I mean? Like they just get an AI slop. They're just like, I can't write. I'll get the AI to write for me, or to make artwork, or to make music. But we're talking about also to create realities. If the Musk mafia and evil Trump and all these gross shitheads want to get something done, they have to prompt you. They have to prompt your imagination because you are the only person that's got real creative juice left. They're all like dried up nothings that can't make things happen. So let me keep going with this. To that end, it is important to no longer ingest false light, propaganda, and official lies. Although most sane and responsible citizens validly look at their effort to read the news as part of your civic duty, I have felt the same way. Just keep going with my notes here. And I applaud those efforts from a conventional stance. We are in unconventional times where you are better served now at this point by avoiding going on Twitter or X or YouTube or TikTok at all. And I'm now doing parallel uploads of these classes on my Vimeo so that way you can still access my lectures without having to be a part of the energy field of YouTube. The temptation, because I know that it's hard, like I know that it is a I don't want to say like a dopamine thing. Like when you go on YouTube, I know that it's like opening a can of worms. You're like, I'm just gonna watch this one video, but there's the recommended videos and the thumbnails, and I know that it's hard for you to only eat one potato chip and not delve in. And then I know there's the comments section too, where people are looking for community, looking for connection to real, alive other people, looking for validation. And so you go into a vulnerable state. You go on YouTube and you're like, let me read the comments. A lot of the comments are fucking fake, not even by a real person. They are manufactured to give you a sense of a certain viewpoint of reality. So I think my YouTube comment section is like pretty miraculous. I haven't had a lot of trolling, haven't had a lot of fake bullshit, and I think I pretty much just have real people that come and comment there. So I think that that is pretty, pretty good track record. I'm impressed that the energetic protections work effectively there. And also please know that like you're in an unconventional time. Maybe 10 years ago might have been effective to be like, I'll watch this video and then see if I can connect with the other people that are in the comments and will, make the world a better place. I don't think that that is a good thing to do. And I go further into this, okay? The false, and also one of the things that I'm doing is I am minimizing my exposure to technology. It is very difficult for me to write and compose thoughts on the computer. So that's why now I'm doing all of my writing in my handwriting. And even instead of transliterating and typing it in as some type of a secretary that you guys can then read, I'm just taking a photo of it and I'm trying to make my handwriting legible, but I hope that you can read it effectively because all of us need to have a lot less emotional connection to and through technology. It's really not helping any of us. So the notes are meant to be a synopsis of things that I say, so people don't have to watch a whole long video. They don't want to. And also a limitation of me and me having to type on the computer. It saves my energy an enormous amount. Let me keep going. The false light is an algorithmic editorial distortion of reality, specifically the profusion of topics that you see, voices which are amplified, and disproportionate inflations or diminishments of particular topics. So when you go on Twitter and everyone is talking about whatever is the news of the day or La Boo Boos or some stupid idiot thing, it is manufactured. if you go on there and you put your lens to perceive reality onto that manufactured and artificial landscape, you then internalize those priorities of the person who has editorialized that content. Forgive me, but if you're not familiar with this, in journalistic ethics of another era, as I gather around children, gather around Aurora's rocking chair, and I will tell you stories. Well, way back in the good old days, there was such a thing as journalistic ethics. And that was when editors recognized that they had a responsibility to their readership in the way that they set up the newspaper. For example, things that are written on the front page and in giant letters were considered to be like priorities, priority information. And of course, they were wedded to the truth and to truthfully giving headline news. And things that were less important were in a smaller font and often on the back page of the newspaper. And it was a huge responsibility for the editor of the entire newspaper to decide what belongs on the front page, what belongs in a giant headline this big, and what belongs in the back as a mere, whatever, an afterthought. So sometimes it wasn't fair because you would read on the front page, so and so is evil and they eat puppies and kittens. And then later on, you find out it was all a lie. And then you write a small retraction on the back page. Like, it turns out so and so is not evil and they don't eat puppies and kittens. They're a very nice person. So, like, there's a lot of power in even the choice of placement, font size, and other aspects of where and how you put out information. There's no journalistic ethics anymore. Not only do you not have a physical newspaper, but you do not have actual editors at the helm protecting the it begins with an R, reputation of their wonderful long-term journal. Like, people threw it all away. The New York Times, the Washington Post, it's all been thrown in the trash. We don't think that these are valid sources for information anymore. They are sources of propaganda. So they have destroyed their own reputation in their own face. We don't listen to them anymore. When you go on Twitter and you're like, okay, I'm a good citizen. I need to read the news and see what's going on. You read what is prioritized by the Musk mafia and largely, the CIA or lettered agencies or whatever is the agenda behind those agencies. And they will tell you what you should know and what you think is truthful. And this is the opposite of what you should actually be experiencing. So not only the editorial choices, what is amplified, what stories are amplified, and what stories are diminished, or what information or conversations are diminished. For example, concerns about vaccine injury. How much of that is diminished on social media? How much has YouTube diminished and censored stories about the perils of vaccines in general, mRNA in general, those who are suffering terribly in their body as an after effect of the vaccines, and people who have had their family members die. Like, that conversation isn't being promoted in the recommended videos at the margins of YouTube. YouTube is like, put that on the back page. We don't want people talking about this. If you can even upload those videos at all without having some form of an official content strike. So, and people using all sorts of allegories and allusions instead of speaking openly and saying like, yep, vaccines are causing these kids to be like, autistic vegetables. And everyone in my family got the COVID-19 vaccine and they all got heart attacks and miscarried and got cancer and died. Like, you're not allowed to say those things. I question whether my video will be able to go far, but that's why I upload on Vimeo. And also, just I'm being hilarious in my presentations here. But there's plenty of scholarly work. And why do places like Substack and these alternatives exist? Because people are not able to actually have a voice. People who are serious, grounded researchers, much more so than my inflammatory hilarity, are not platformed with an equal voice And when you go on Twitter and you're like, let me see if I can talk to people and say, I think vaccines are harmful and they're causing injury, bots will descend. This is what the next part is: artificial profiles pretending to emote or converse. So some of them are obvious bots. They're like, anti-vaccine 123 at, shitcoin.com. Like, that that's a fake bot, not a real person. But sometimes when you go on Twitter to say something and be like, I don't like what's going on. I think I'm skeptical of this, and this. And there will be 12, certified researchers that come up and they're like, I'm a certified PCR researcher and I'm here to tell you that PCR test is totally valid. These statistics are correct. Like, they'll bring charts, they'll bring statistics. They will often dilute and derail the topic and make it so that it's very, very difficult if you're trying to have a voice, for you to have a voice, or a person who comes along afterwards who is looking for news and looking for truth and who reads those comments is confused and subjected to an enormous amount of false light. Okay. There's also false light. This is all the problems of like why you shouldn't ingest false light. And this is long. False light is also in literal fabrication of proposed events in a weak effort by the evil ones to quote unquote cheat code events into reality by prompting you, the actual mental emotional creator of reality and driver of events. So in case you don't know it, and let me reiterate this, you guys who are not vaccinated, who maintain your creative capabilities, you are the driver of events. Although you're being given a pacification ray and a narrative that says, you're not, you ain't shit, you ain't nothing, you're not doing anything, sit there and be passive. But they require or desire you. These dead light bulbs want you to go on social media because you still have some amount of vivification. And when you read these prompts, they want to cheat code that into reality. So they're like, oh, we're going to say that something is happening. And then as the people read this, their minds will believe it and emanate that into reality. So this is evil stuff, kind of traditional patterns of evil satanic manipulation of those who are actually creative and divinely connected, but through technology and also amplified and with extra layers of distortion on top of there. So these are all the reasons why, like, you should not go on there. Basically, you're not really getting news or information. You're ingesting false light, literally false light going into your eyes and into your mind and into your brain. And then we're like, what's the problem with that? The problem is that you are then imperiling the fabric of reality by potentially emanating out and regurgitating those negative realities that only serve the bad masters of reality. Okay, so don't expose yourself to the prompts. Here's a long list of things that you should not think about or tacitly agree to. Worldwide famine. That's a big one. Whenever I go on YouTube, all of the videos there are like, wheat isn't being grown, food prices are going up, better get some kind of a vacuum sealer and preserve your foods. Like all these different, very, very fear-based things that are about attempts to reverse engineer famine by implanting those fears into you and then also selling some products at the same time. So be skeptical, especially when product placement happens. It's like the world is going under. Famine's going to happen. If you just go on Amazon and buy this thing for, whatever, $9.99, that then you can store your food and you'll be okay. Or your protect your family. Meals ready to eat supplies. Like buy this for your family. Like any of those types of things. Like be skeptical. That humor helps. All right. So rejecting prompts for worldwide famine. Here's another one. Nuclear war. They're still beating that dead horse. It ain't going to happen, but they keep on trying to light that fire or get a spark going in your mind with the hopes that you would somehow create or manifest that. Another one is Mad Max style social dissolution. That was a big fear-based potential that they were trying to energize along like February or March of this year. So a lot of these narratives you've done well at ignoring, de-energizing, or dismantling, but the narratives remain. as a structure, like the pipes remain, they're empty. Don't put water into those pipes. Don't put the water of your energy, your cognitive energy, your emotional belief into those potentials. Don't energize those realities. Go on more. The a narrative of quote unquote AI inevitability. That's been a big one for this year, where the evil control system sends out a mental framework that says AI is inevitable, right? Resistance is futile. Join the Borg. And if you don't do it, China will, or some other country will. So you got to get ahead of everything on this one. So that's it's a false narrative. It's not truthful at all. But there are many videos when I go on YouTube that are about AI inevitability and how AI is taking over everything and AI in the workplace and replacing human workforce, blah blah blah. That feeling in my words right there, that's false light. False light. Like like when you feel that, stop. Reclaim yourself. Turn off the stupid fucking thing because you can tell that it is starting to control and prompt you and influence what you are emanating into reality. Another one, don't believe in or energize the narrative of financial collapse as reset by elites. Too many fucking people just take this one under their belt, like, oh, it's normal. It's normal. We just do this all the time. Yep, time for another reset. And we got lots of spiritual quote unquote teachers who talk about this too. They're like, oh, the reset, the Phoenix event, the sun will incinerate the world, or perhaps Tartaria has happened. We're already in the post mud flood era, or this happens all the time. And look at the Mayan calendar. We're up, we're down, we're set, we're reset, we're this and that. That is all very, very false, corrosive, and not truthful. Not truthful at all. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you're like, oh, well, I better do nothing, the world occasionally gets incinerated from time to time, or the everybody's minds occasionally just get fully wiped and amnesiac. And then, except for the elites who somehow managed to come in with their money bags like Mr. Monopoly and buy up all the properties on the Monopoly board. And that's just normal, and that just happens from time to time. That is a very corrosive, erroneous, wrong, and harmful narrative. And when you see a spiritual teacher or a new age teacher who's promoting that narrative, and also be skeptical of that person. So I can name two people. Like one of them is the guy who's known as Archaix, Archaix. I don't trust that person, and they very much promote all this alternative history, examples of Tartaria, considerations that there was a high-tech civilized world in the 1800s, that somehow it's all been wiped out, and now we're living in, a dark kakistocracy, but things were somehow better in 1859. Like all of these things, like these are delusions. And you don't want to ingest those delusions that then create self-fulfilling prophecies about the inevitability of financial collapse, and that the vultures, the elite vultures, will swoop in as they always have in the past. No, reject that fucking bullshit. Or here's another narrative that you got to reject: the narrative of continued assaults on DNA by next wave mRNA poisons. So those poisons are really going on. These are genuine substances in development, not only the next generation of a type of injection or inoculation against a perceived disease, whatever is the next thing that is being injected. That it might be, an anti-mRNA, anti-rabies vaccine that's for your dog, or some kind of nasal flu mist for your kid so it can go to whatever fucking daycare or something like that. Or I'm collecting my thoughts here about peptides. Peptides didn't exist in 2021. This is some new fucking bullshit that they came up with. There is some passivity in each one of you as you're like, oh yeah, what's the next bad scientific monstrosity that they're inventing that people can inject into themselves, or pollution that is sprayed on the food. And the evil ones aren't necessarily incepting or creating these agendas. They're prompting you to expect and then create and generate and then be passive in response to these agendas. And it's the sense of like, oh, like there's more vaccines coming, and then they're going to vaccinate you again, then they're going to vaccinate you again, they're going to vaccinate you again. That tacit acceptance is very corrosive. And then also the consideration of like you're just trying to play some kind of game or a war of attrition and be the last man standing, where you're like, okay, great, like they can all go out there and get vaccinated, I'm gonna not get vaccinated, and I will whatever sit here in my home or my cabin in the woods and eschew human society. And it's like that doesn't help anything. And then also you end up being in a kakistocracy full of horribly vaccinated, mind controlled, like zombie decomposing people. And then what does life look like? Like I am actually facing that as a very horrible nightmare. That it really looks like when you turn off 5G, like there's very, very few viable human beings, very, very few people who will be able to recover from what they have done to their bodies. People that put peptides into their bodies, like, you're not getting that plastic out of there, and don't expect me to do it supernaturally. Emphasis, emphasis, emphasis. Don't anybody in this class or anywhere expect me to magically wave a flying rainbow lasagna wand or magically do some type of molecular bonding and unbonding to clear everybody out of the horrific prion misfolded proteins, false genetic architecture, peptides and plastics in their brains. Like, I'm not doing the house cleaning on these incredibly foolish idiots that polluted themselves. No. So don't abuse miracles. Don't expect all of that. Don't think that your job is like to just stay alive, but like barely alive, filled with poisons, and then somehow me or something magical is going to come along and be like, and then it cleared it all out. Like, no, you're goners. You're goners. You're not going to be able to be here. And I'm saying that like laughing maniacally, like that's terrible. Terrible that I have to say that. Okay. Here's another one. Don't agree to the inevitability of this narrative, 6G inevitability or continued transhumanism, peptides and fake faces. So 6G inevitability, that's the sense where everyone is like, 5G is bad. I'm getting so fried. I'm feeling so bad. And then also, soon they're going to do 6G and there's nothing we can do to stop it. No. And if you think that, and they prompt you to think that, and you think that way, then you're harming all of us. Let's talk about peptides and fake faces. Oh, wait. I might need to open the door for Cheeky. Hold on a second. Let's open the door for Cheeky. There's Jack. Right? See if you can go outside. Part of what is so corrosive about YouTube is the uncanny valley. That is what humans call when people's faces are changed from their natural architecture just enough to look inhuman or grotesque, but they still look kind of human. So at a certain point, a couple of years ago, maybe 1 or 2 years ago, the YouTube algorithm began to favor and promote the videos of creators who were taking the picture of their face, that is their real face, and for the thumbnail to promote their video, distorting it into an exaggerated cartoon of their face for promotional purposes. So these AI thumbnails, I stopped watching We Are Change. I used to watch that guy for news because I thought that he was an unaffiliated independent journalist. And then he started doing these thumbnails where his face is very distorted. It might be like maybe his eyes are really open like this, or they're like scared. They're scared, and any of those things. Those are very, very harmful. Okay, just watching Cheeky over here. Those are harmful to your eyes. The reason they call it the uncanny valley is because when your innate natural humanness perceives these distorted faces, you're like, that's a monster. That is not a human. That's a kind of semi-human, but not really a human. And you should be shocked and revolted, and you should go away in your revulsion. You should not be like, I think I'll click on that video of that horrible monster face. I think I want to watch that. I never did any of these things. I never changed my video format or conformed or kissed the AI ass of the algorithm by putting in fake versions of my face. I always try to just make it look like me, like I don't always have control over it, because sometimes it chooses like the stupidest expression. because it goes for like some, shock or something like that. But no, I try to choose something if I have control over it that is a genuine expression of who I really look like. And also, I mean, gather around children. I remember in grandma's rocking chair when YouTube was not run by AdSense, not run by the CIA, Google, alphabet lettered agencies. It was just random crackpots who put up their own videos about themselves. And then nobody had high production values. Nobody had special titles or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like special lettering, special fonts, special thumbnails. It was just like you took a snapshot of yourself, or it was just like a picture from the video. Like that's the good old days when there's like regular people put their content up on YouTube. At a certain point, YouTube became something where people are trying to create an entertainment industry out of their life, either out of their personal sharing of their events of their life, or some type of a product, or some type of political propaganda. And we could just rant a little bit on this because there's this one person that has a YouTube channel, and she talks about how for years she cultivated her YouTube audience and only had a small audience talking about things that were important to her, like permaculture and farming. And then last year she got very riled up about politics and started to create some video content about politics. And her YouTube channel just blew up. And then she got paid life-changing money as a result. She didn't describe how much, but we're expecting six figures, enough. And she talks about this on her video, enough to be able to, build an outbuilding. Like, she runs a farm. She built a whole like studio, like a whole broadcast studio to be able to give propaganda, give out propaganda. If people will change their face and give out political propaganda, they will be rewarded now by the algorithm or the control structure that is the communication network of YouTube. So when you calibrate to this being normal, like that's when you lose your humanity. It's very dangerous for you not to be revolted by the uncanny valley. You should be revolted by and reject these people. Let's talk about, so that's like fake people using AI algorithms and thumbnails. But now we have to talk about plastics and peptides in people's faces, because it's not just the thumbnail on the computer looking fake, but then their face looks normal in reality. A lot of people have done things to their faces to make their faces no longer look like a regular face. Beyond plastic surgery, we got people injecting all sorts of plastic and fake crap into their lips and skin, and they do not have natural emotional expression on their faces anymore. And this is also the uncanny valley. And it is not just Hollywood people. I think many of us have, let me just close the door now because it's 1,000 degrees. It's so hot out. She did not want to go outside. It's taken as a matter of course, as a negative truth, that everyone in Hollywood has a fake face and they're all like, whatever plastic surgery and they're plastic fake people. But we're talking about regular people in your day-to-day life that suddenly calibrated to that they had to have a fake face somehow. And the normalization of the fakeness of the features and the plasticness of people's features, beginning with Botox, which you have to know is a pineal gland polluter, not merely like a micromuscular paralysis substance, but then into all sorts of procedures and implants and things like that. These are transhumanist faces. So it is dangerous and corrosive for you as a non-transhumanist to be constantly exposed to the artificial thumbnails of distorted uncanny valley faces and the physical faces of people in your day-to-day life who are self-distorted in all of this. And there's not really a hope for a lot of these people. So when you expose yourself to these things, there's this tacit sense of inevitability. Like, oh, the world's getting faker and faker. Like, look at that fake fucker. Look at that guy. Look at that guy. Sorry about my language, but you understand, and I'm being for real here. Stop exposing yourself to it. I really, really mean this, because what I'm trying to say is that at this point, although you might come to social media or YouTube seeking news or community, you will actually get polluted by fake bullshit instead of actually having a voice, talking to other people and connecting with other genuinely good people. So I think at this point, it's not your civic responsibility to go on Twitter. Don't try to speak your voice in the town square. The town square is polluted. Don't try to convince other people. You don't have to shake anybody by the shoulders. Like that is not your job and not helpful to you. You are still relatively clear. You still have some clarity and divine connection. Keep your conduit clear. Don't expose yourself to this bad fake bullshit, and express yourself in different ways and in different places that don't require these levels of distortion. Okay. And here's a detox exercise that everyone can do heading into the home stretch. Thank you for your patience. To detox, do this exercise. Go look at the news, quote unquote, the way that you ordinarily would. Okay. Like you wake up in the morning, you make your coffee, you're going to log into whatever website you usually go to, as you usually would. Do 15 minutes. Look at the news for 15 minutes, okay? Then stop and ask yourself what news you actually learned. See if you can actually even like write something down. Like, what facts did you learn? When I do this, I notice that I have received zero facts. What I have instead been energetically influenced to participate via my belief in the corrosive lies of a false light reality structure. It is better not to ingest any of the false narratives at this point. Okay, so wait, let's just emphasize that. Do that little exercise. If you're like, because I know this is hard, it's kind of like almost an addiction or something like that. When you're like, oh, like I'm a responsible citizen. I have to read the news. I'll read the Google. I'll read the this. I'll read the that. And then you read it and you're like, what did I find out? Like I read the Google. I found out like some 18-year-old kid kicked a sea lion in La Jolla. Like that does nothing for me. This does not inform me at all. You will see how little actual news you learn. That was an actual article too. Yeah, no, you get slop and idiocy and nothing. At this point, it is better to fast and to avoid ingestion of these topics and pollutions, and don't try to influence others. You're already there. You're already there with me. Okay, so let me keep going with this. Last week's class was emotionally charged, and I'm sure challenging for you to endure. Thank you for returning. People who are in this class who are listening to me right now, thank you for returning for more of what I have to share, both the truthful information and the emotional truth of the current situation in the world. Ultimately, my message is one of personal empowerment to the remnant of humanity that maintains its positive qualities of decency, of consideration of the whole, like human society and the ecology, of divine connection, and innate generosity beyond self-service. It is time for you guys to start driving the narrative of our world in a much better direction. Got it? You are the drivers. These transhumanist, peptide, and 5G zombified people are passive passengers and vampires off of your motivation. So please claim and remember your identity. And I will read these qualities again because this is who you are. Qualities of decency, that is goodness. Consideration of the whole, that is when you're like doing things that you know are righteous and good for all of the people, all of the plants and animals that are here. Divine connection, you guys still have that. Have it in your creativity. Your creativity is more than just like your ability to make babies or something like that. It's your ability to make or enjoy listening to music, or to make artwork, or to write and express yourself. I'm really encouraging people also to write and express yourself with pen or pencil on a piece of paper in a notebook that is not connected to the internet. This is critical for you to keep yourself alive. Keep your real self alive through expressing your thoughts in this way. And also an innate generosity beyond self-service. A lot of the people who have betrayed humanity and done a lot of bad things to dilute and diminish themselves are in a sense of doing what is right for them, prioritizing their own comfort, even those who are passive in response to the perils that we're facing. Like, well, what, like it doesn't, I don't feel 5G. It doesn't affect me. I don't have poison ivy. I don't have a rash. And I'm really just here in self-service and I don't really care about anybody else. Like that level of attitude is very different than you who are in this class and who I'm addressing and sending this energy or this communication to. I communicate to you because you have a generosity beyond self-service. And that's also clear in your commitment and loyalty to the abstract of light. You're not just like, well, I want light because I want light for me. I want to eat some light. Light goes in here. Give me some light now. You're like, I want to protect light because it's a library of information. And I want it to be there for me, but I also want it to be there for all of us. The sense of protecting the beauty of nature. 5G totally thrives and is assaulting plants, animals, and natural behavior patterns, natural thought patterns, natural human dynamics. A lot of this has been about controlling human behavior patterns and human economic behavior patterns, like who is rich, who is buying, who is selling. And there's a beauty in natural, unencumbered commerce that is like, oh yeah, like it's actually very, very positive. You make a thing, you make pies, and someone is hungry and they buy your pies, and you have money and they have food. Like these are good things. But the 5G control structure is attempting to take over and end those natural dynamics that you should be able to experience. So you want to have those experiences for yourself, but you also want to protect the landscape so that others can have that experience, so that the next generation can have that experience. It's actually very wonderful and very self-gratifying to be a individual business owner and to be like, I'm going to do a thing like me. Like I was like, I made dresses and then I sold dresses. And I was like, look at me, like I made a thing and somebody out there liked it and they bought it. And then I had money. That is gratifying and positive and good. And I think that that is woven into, as a positive way, the foundation of human interactions. And what is going on right now, you guys totally understand it, not only over the past 5 years, a co-opting of these natural dynamics of who's buying, who's selling, are artificially elevating the peptide Instagram influencers who have no contribution but are somehow getting money, and with the eventual bottlenecking of humanity into a universal basic income where you just get paid and you just get slops. Like you get slop in here, you get money in your bank account, you're mindless pablum zombie, and you just kind of go around, doing nothing all day. Like that's a horrible hell. And we don't want to have that experience. So protecting the sense of commerce and freedom to do what you want to do with your money for yourself, but also for those who will come in future generations, so that way they don't live in a diminished sense. So let me just finish reading this. I wrote this transcript and I also sent it out via photos to the enrolled members of this class. This transcript and other class notes are sent with the intention of unburdening you from the streaming videos, and so that you can still hear my information and my communication, because I think that that is important. I do have class materials to go over with you. So let's take a brief break. I will take care of Cheeky. Brief break, everyone. Okay, thank you for that break, everyone. I'm about to launch into whiteboard number 5, even though I know in my video showcase on Vimeo, it might be mislabeled as Path of Light 6 in the title, because I originally recorded those when I was like literally in the middle of the night, and I didn't, it's like, it's baked in. The title is wrong. It's baked into what it is. And it's all about photosynthesis and how light becomes matter. And as I'm going to teach you about this, like I'm happy to share these as abstractions. But before I get going, I have to be a hard ass, and I have to tell you that I can't give you this information as another, like, as a continued bedtime story. I think that most of you are I want to say repeat customers. I think that most of you have already been in my Path of Light class before, and I don't really want to just be repetitive, going over the same material that I have already told you in previous semesters. I don't really have that many new people here, and I don't want to, like I said, just give you more bedtime stories or more things about like how great it is in the world of pure light and how wonderful it is when you're, in these levels of freedom and all the cool things that you can do. because I don't want to be an enabler. So she's like, I don't know if I like this energy. I'm not going to yell at you. All right. But I am going to be a hard ass. So the answer is some things are a job for materialism. Like you need a boulder moved. You need like a bulldozer. You don't need to demolecularize the boulder with the techniques that I'm telling you about in the path of light. Let me also be a little bit of a hard ass and tell you about, like, in terms of 5G infrastructure and towers. Over many years, people have done this activity of passively fighting without really confronting the erection of 5G infrastructure with orgonites. Now, orgonites are resin with different crystals and metal shavings in there. And there's a wonderful practice of quote unquote gifting the towers with chunks of orgonite. And the sense that people would frame it as a gift, like, oh, like you're giving us the gift of 5G. Well, we'll just give you the gift of these antithesis structures that will help to neutralize or buffer what is being sent out. I don't want to deride the people that did that. It's been going on for a long time. I think that the person who makes these in particular is a good person. Mitch, the orgone donor, not organ donor, but orgone. And I've had very good effects in my community by planting the orgonites around trees. And it really did help to bring in rain and to prevent break a long drought that's going on for over 5 years in my area. So there are very good uses for orgonite. However, don't get passive and be lazy in the sense that if you see, well, they're going to erect a new 5G tower, be like, don't worry, we'll just have an orgonite party. We'll make organites. We'll gift the towers the organites. Everything will be fine. That is not okay. Organites maybe were a stopgap measure, maybe gave some small amount of improvement to your communities. But actually, I'm angry and disappointed at anybody who thought that just chucking a piece of resin out your car window at a 5G tower, boom, like you think you're done. No, you don't need to actually use an orgonite, and you don't need to use something that is supernatural. Like the things that I'm teaching you, they're really not supernatural, but they're like hypernatural. Like I'm going to teach you all about microgravity and how that creates molecular bonding. Maybe you're going to be like, oh, like, well, if I can master bonding and unbonding molecular stuff, then I can just like melt the metal of a 5G tower. And like, first of all, that is not good energy hygiene or good energy budgeting. Because what you would be doing is using like $1 million worth of energy to accomplish what you should be able to accomplish through your material efforts, through materialism. And there is also some escapism there. Instead of confronting the telecommunication companies, the people who run them, people who are in your community, having to have difficult confrontational social and emotional moments with other human beings. It's the equivalent of chucking some orgonite out your window. You're like, I'm just gonna, demolecularize some stuff and then everything will be fine. So I don't want to teach you this stuff repetitively. I don't want to give you fun bedtime stories that just soporifically, tranquilize you and then be like, okay, great, path of light, let's continue getting fried. And also, I don't want you to misuse and misbudget your energy, even if you could do this stuff by being like, let's use a supernatural solution when what we really need is something much more mundane. Totally get my message. Thank you for getting my message. And this is all book club stuff, of course. So on that note, and also if you want to know about me, because as I was thinking of how I can critically bring this to you, but then have you not turn it around to me to say like, what about you, Aurora? Are you doing all this stuff that's supernatural? I am efforting so much to do these supernatural or hypernatural things. So one example is I do remove and demolecularize nanotechnology and other things that are in my body and the body of some worthy people that come to me as clients in session. Like I would never do like clear out a peptide person if they're going to inject themselves next week with more plastic or whatever, a plastic face person. I wouldn't clear out their plastic of their face. But good people who are innocent, who are trying as hard as they can to keep themselves clean, come to me so that I can do this as a service. And then I'm like the cosmic cleaning lady. In order for me to do that, I don't know if you guys know it because I don't necessarily show it or articulate it to you, but I am efforting at all times to destroy the nanotechnology or wetware or whatever in my own body, specifically in my own brain, so that I can think for myself, I can feel for myself, I can use my psychic powers. It takes an enormous amount of energy to do that. The protective crystals that I have, those little superconductor crystals, they help me a lot. They relieve a lot of the burden from what I have to do with my psychic abilities, but I still have to use my psychic abilities a lot just to be able to like keep my head above water. So you can imagine that, you know, below the surface of the water, like a duckling or whatever, like my legs are going super duper 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 fast just to be able to keep me at this level. And it's definitely not a good energy budget, spending a lot of energy just on being able to like keep my sanity and keep my own energy boundaries together. And then when I have extra to be able to clear other people out. So please know that things that I teach you right now are not an easy way to be non-confrontational and not actually do the work. And also shouldn't be used as a misappropriation, and also aren't really available to you until you turn off 5G. Like these things, like I'm telling you about how great it's going to be on the path of light and the different things that you can do and your different experiences, or I don't want to say superpowers, but like the different ways that you can be powerful in the world. These are all just dreams or potentials until or unless you turn off 5G, because I really don't think that you can accomplish or perform these things or get into these levels of self-cultivation with the 5G that's going on. So I hope that that motivates you to be like, wow, Aurora, I want to know and learn about this stuff that is possible and change my mind and get onto the path of light and be able to comprehend microgravity features. But that in order to really do so, I need to turn off 5G. That's what's really going on. So I'm going to give like a truncated version, not the whole entire teaching. For anybody who really wants to know more about this, I would encourage you to tune into one of my earlier semesters of Path of Light to get the full teaching. Because I will also tell you this, like, I just have to be super real with you guys. I'm going over my notes and preparing for class, and I'm like extremely unmotivated to go into every detail of like exactly how carbon dioxide and exactly how oxygen split apart and exactly how all these things go together. And even to speak with, you know, lightheartedness about the comfy chairs and how they go in and out. I'm like, the truth is, I do not have patience for this. Not anymore. And I don't want to pretend that I do. And I don't want you guys to think that I'm hating on you or rejecting you in some way, but just please know, like, I can't do this anymore. I mean, I can't like hold up a fun, lighthearted, humorous face when so many bad things are happening. And I don't think that it's right for me to pretend or to be required to do that. So real talk here, not gonna give you the full teaching. If you also because like I don't have any new students, like I have like you guys, and I don't want you to think that you're chopped liver. But like, this is repetitive. You guys have already heard this from me. You have already, you know, learned this and internalized this from me. It's nice to hear it again, but here's what I wanted to say to you. I don't want to be your comforting rerun that you watch to escape from reality. I have a series that I like to watch when I need escapism. It's called The Good Place. And I've memorized every episode, and I like that show because it's familiar to me, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't want to be your rerun that tells you over and over about the path of light when you just like tune out from reality and kind of escape. That's not the energy that I'm going for right here, and I find it very wearing on me. I don't want to have to do that. So I'm going to simplify this, what I'm telling you. Some of the simplification has to do with light and light's connection to gravity. So light is not as Einstein has told you. Einstein talks about gravity as if it's like, sorry, light and gravity as if like light is a bicycle. Like the bicycle wheels are going along this do 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 do, and then if there's a drop off over here, then light will go like do 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 do, and that's what a black hole is. That is not what is happening at all. And that is a viewpoint of light that is wildly influenced by the materialistic world that you're in. Like you're used to bicycles that go along on a flat surface like this and then go over a hill if you bring it over a hill. Light does not do that. And so this sense of light being like some hapless victim that goes along and then all of a sudden it gets sucked into a black hole, or it goes along and it gets, smooshed into some place where it doesn't belong. That is not what is happening. Light does have an interaction with gravity. Let's talk about this like this. Intelligence has an interaction with gravity. Information has an interaction with gravity. Um, uh, Organizational data is expressed through gravity. That's good stuff. You should know about that. So even the conception of gravity as it holds a star in a place or other astronomical scale objects being held in a place, in a relationship, in the fabric of space, time, and consciousness, all relates to gravity. But what makes gravity happen is light. So when we talk about gravity, we're not just talking about a Cartesian plane, as I usually draw it as a simplification. We're really talking about something that is a spherical object. So when you have these microgravity wells or macro scale gravity wells, it really is something that is a sphere, and the energy is pulling all inward into one epicenter. But because it is difficult to draw those as diagrams, I draw everything as if it is a flat plane like this, and then there's something heavy that is here, and then there's something that makes a deformation that comes down like a stretchy fabric. And when we're talking about microgravity, I again draw it as if you're like in a cross section here, and then here you have these little tiny, divots, or like whatever on a golf course, places where the golf ball goes, these little tiny places where molecules come together. So that's the basic of what I'm sharing with you here, that what really causes molecular bonding is not what is described in the materialistic science of your world. Materialistic science describes something like covalence, aspects of magnetism or stickiness, and other things. But really, what you're looking at is consciousness. Light is intelligence. Light is what creates those little tiny downward, I want to call them depressions. It's very depressing to talk about this. The little tiny places where molecules such as carbon and oxygen can come together and can create bonds. And the light is intelligence that is making this happen. So when materialistic science talks about an event like a biochemical reaction that happens in the world, it might be photosynthesis or it might be combustion. It talks about these things as if they're with stupid items in a stupid realm, but they're really intelligent items that are being put together intelligently. And this is, again, very high level teaching about the non-arbitrary nature of molecular bonding, of the creation of matter, and then also on bonding and either combustion or digestion. So the ways that molecules are put together, or how is matter made? Like this is like master stuff, like being ascended master stuff, like make some matter with your mind. You're like, I want to do this. Good, turn off 5G. Make some matter with your mind. How do you do that? The intellectual cognitive concept is that, first of all, can't be random because you're working within the larger fabric of space-time. And if you're like, me, I want for me, maybe I'll make some gold and I'll distort the fabric of space-time to make some gold. Like the rest of the fabric of space-time, you like when you bunch up a blanket or whatever, it would all get bunched up, it would all get screwed up, and everyone would be really, really mad at you. So your efforts and motivations in that level of capacitation have to be pure. They have to be focused on not just what is good for you, but what is good for upholding the fabric of space, time, and consciousness. When we look at the activity of photons or of the photon or of light as it is photosynthesizing, Photosynthesis literally means light into matter. And when that is occurring, the light is not a hapless victim. It's not like, oh no, like I got flung off of the surface of a sun, and then all of a sudden I ended up landing on this leaf, and a bunch of crazy shit happened to me, and then all of a sudden I was part of the world of matter. Like, poor me. That's like me talking as a particle of light. That is not what happens at all. A particle of light, or a piece of light intelligence, consciousness, and awareness, makes a very, very intentional decision to become a part of the world of matter. It's not by accident. So photosynthesis, if I can continually emphasize this to you, is so non-accidental. It is more accurate than your greatest materialistic supercomputer that you've got on your planet right now. So when a particle of light or a stimulus of light comes to a leaf and there's a chloroplast there, the light activates the chloroplast, and it is still in the impulse form. The light is in the form of an impulse. It is not yet in the form of matter. And in order for it to be translated into the form of matter by the activities of the plant, who are, by the way, performing miracles around you at all times, unattended miracles. It's like miracle, miracle, miracle. And everyone's just walking along like they're ignoring it. Stop ignoring the miracles. The plants are doing miracles around us at all times. One of these miracles is when the light reaches the leaf and it is still in impulse form, the light has to travel through an incredible labyrinth of possibilities to reach a particular energy center and then begin to be translated into matter through the process of photosynthesis in the chloroplast. The unlikelihood of the impulse reaching the energy center before it poops out and loses its impulse, like loses energy, it's like 10 million quadrillion billion unnatural Google million to 1. It's an uncountable number. It's so impossible. It's so unlikely because there's all of these different paths that you can take. Like maybe this way. No, wrong, 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 wrong. There's only one essential path to getting there where it doesn't lose energy and it successfully translates into matter. And it does it every time. Every time. 10 million quadrillion Google million whatever Scooby-Doo million to 1. Every time turns into matter. It never loses one impulse. That is more accurate in the beautiful structure of nature and the miracle of photosynthesis than any type of artifice that humans can possibly make in terms of a highly complex lithography, like the way that these chips are made through etching processes, the lithography process, or manipulation of silicon molecules to be able to supposedly calculate things that are happening. That is not as sophisticated as a leaf. Like I got this beautiful fern right here by my computer, or I also have, this is very nice, like I have all of my musical equipment, and I have kind of like, let me see if I can gently move this. Here, I have all of these like vines that have kind of like twined their way, like they're growing all around here. I do that very, very intentionally so that it kind of softens up the energy of all of these like speakers and synthesizers and computers and everything like that. These are not stupid leaves. These are intelligent supercomputers performing miracles in front of you at all times. So if you ever have 5 minutes while you're waiting in line at the grocery store, or at other times, I can't sleep, let me think a deep thought. Think about the profound miracle of photosynthesis, and that this is an inevitability of these light particles or portions of intelligence and light becoming manifested as matter all around you in the world 25 million times a second, and humans being largely ignorant or inattentive to these miracles. So most of what I teach you in Path of Light is to cognitively make you open to or aware of the miraculous presences that are happening all around you. Glucose is also a miraculous presence. So not only through walking on a treadmill many hours a day, but also through learning about glucose, I have renegotiated my relationship with sugar I know that many of us think of it as like, this is not healthy. This is not a health food. Don't eat sugar. But like, no, the truth is like glucose is the light, the form of light that is in your body and is available to your body. And so as you are becoming this ascended person on a path of light, and one day you're going to make matter consciously with your mind or manipulate matter and bringing molecules together and apart, the first thing you're going to do is claim these capabilities in your own body and connecting to the molecule that is glucose and using it effectively is like a super accomplishment. So not jumping merely to being like glucose schmucose, that's using my body like a steam engine. You know, I'm putting coal in here and then I'm running and puffing and energy is coming out. It is a reverence, a re-estimation and greater levels of genuine gratitude, be in gratitude for glucose. So what is glucose? It is a long form chain that actually comes from cellulose in plants. When plants initially receive light through photosynthesis, the first things that they start to do is to make cellulose. And cellulose is in plants like the architecture that helps them to stand up. So you can also understand why is it positive for a plant to stand up instead of like lay down. So like slime molds lay down, simple, I want to call them eukaryotes, but I don't know if that's the right word. One cell photosynthetic organisms like algae. They don't stand up, they just lay down. They just float on the surface of stuff. Or like I said, mosses, slime molds, stuff that just covers the surface. You can only get so much energy just laying down flat. Once you are able to build a stem and start to stand up, the world is your oyster, kid. You can do all sorts of cool stuff. And so that's why for the complexity and benefit of plants, they have learned to have this inner architecture that helps them to have cellulose, which is wood. And wood is stored up light. For a very long portion of humanity's history, you used burning wood to be able to receive information. The light comes to the plant takes the light and presses pause on its journey, transforms it into matter, which is cellulose, which is wood, and then later on you're able to either turn the wood into a campfire or a torch or some form of light through combustion. And first we're going to do into how to make matter, then we'll do how to unmake matter, which is known as combustion. And let me reemphasize this. When light is liberated from matter, it happens in three basic ways. One of which is combustion. I should get like a candle or something like that. Be like, here's fire. Fire is combustion. The physical matter of like a wax candle or a wooden torch is being re-liberated into optical light and heat and information about your environment that you can perceive. There are other forms of matter changing from its state as matter back into light, one of which is cellular respiration. That's in your own body. Oxygenation, cellular respiration, that's when you take glucose that's inside of you and you turn it into light, which is cognitive energy, emotional energy, heat energy of your body, and like the ability to walk on a treadmill. But then there's one more, which is corrosion. Doesn't sound that fun. I always talk about something that's like corrosive and bad, but we're talking about a piece of iron exposed to air, exposed to oxygen over time will stop being physical matter and will decompose. Same thing, the Statue of Liberty. It is made of copper, and over many, many years, it develops the green patina. It is oxidizing. So oxygen is this transformative aspect, is a transformative element, transformative atom that helps things to transform from physical matter back into light or non-physical stuff. So the Statue of Liberty is right now like transforming from physical matter into non-physical matter, into stuff in front of our eyes. And that's what that green coating is. There is less of the Statue of Liberty now than there was when they initially built that thing, whatever, 200 years ago. And there will eventually be less and less and less of it as the ocean water and oxygen corrode more and more of that away. Eventually, it would not be there because of corrosion. Corrosion is rust, corrosion is oxidation. Oxidation is really for anything that you leave out exposed to oxygen, and then it starts to no longer have its physical formfulness and begins to either corrode or liquefy or to transform in its form. Okay, you're totally with me there. So in your own body, you're not technically combusting. There's lots of stories about Ripley's Believe It or Not and human spontaneous combustion. We can have a whole class about that, but you're not on fire right now. So you're not combusting, even though we talk about burning calories. What you're really doing is utilizing oxygen, the aerobic activity, to be able to transform the glucose molecule through like a 13-part process called the Krebs cycle, this stuff in your body that's called ATP. So this is why in this class, I don't be like, okay, like first we'll go through the whole chemical structure of how matter is made and matter coming together, and that's photosynthesis, and then to do the opposite, which would be to do rather digestion in your body, which is taking the matter that is photosynthesized, the glucose, and then transforming that back into light. It's not an easy analogy, very, very difficult and very, very complex. So what I do in my notes is talk about combustion. You're not combusting. You are actually using a different form of metabolic process to liberate the stored light that is in glucose. But it is similar to the process of combustion. And what you're talking about is when molecules come together to form a molecular bond, what they're really doing is going into a microgravity well together. And I jokingly call that getting into the comfy chair. Like they're sitting together the way that you would sit with your dog or your cat or your, whatever, your hamster, someone sitting on your lap, and you're very, very comfy and snuggly together. And that is how molecules are bonded. And the key component or quotient is light. When you look at the scientific description of what is happening, it will always say, like a carbon molecule and an oxygen molecule and some light, and they bond together. And science or materialistic science talks about them as if it's like any old light, just add a dash of light, anything will do. And that is very blind and not accurate. It has to be the correct light. Matter is non-arbitrary. It's hard for materialists to look at this and know this because they're like, matter schmatter, like eat it, burn it, buy it, sell it. It's stuff. And then there's also that commodification mania where it's like, can I get more stuff? Can I sell more stuff? If I have an infinite making machine inside of me, can I make more stuff and sell more stuff? It's like, that is crazy. Stop talking like that. You're not supposed to do that. No, everything is supposed to be bespoke, customized, correct, and correct in the time and place that it's supposed to be. So a plant is not supposed to grow randomly. It is actually supposed to grow very specifically. And it is supposed to collect, like instead of like it catches the photon, like the David Attenborough Nature series, like the photons are sucked into the black hole. The leaf catches the photons, those poor photons. Actually, there's a collaboration. And on the path of light, let me just hydrate here. Talk about the intention of the narrative structure. When the photon has a journey, like it's technically still at the singularity. It hasn't gone anywhere, but it creates a narrative structure. It creates an intentional narrative structure where it's like, I'm a photon and I'm gonna, oh, are you okay? I'm a photon and I'm gonna come and be a part of this leaf very specifically, very intentionally, not randomly. Now, I know that most of you have like maybe hardly ever been in a genuinely natural environment. I think I might have told you in recent classes about the Fern Canyon that I went to in Northern California. That was very beautiful and very, very unspoiled. And humans had not interfered with the natural way that the plants and mosses grew there. And when I walked around in that beautiful natural place, I was like, everything here means something. Like all of these photosyntheses, you can't see my little leaf here, all of these photosyntheses are non-random. It's different. What are we mostly used to? Farms and gardens, or maybe like your neighborhood. In my neighborhood, like they whatever, they planted palm trees, they planted maple trees, they did urban planning and artificial choices about what plants are there. So when I walk around in town, like me and Cheeky, we don't walk around in, whatever, the mountains in unspoiled places. Like it's dangerous up there. There's rattlesnakes, there's coyotes. Like, no, we go to the park. What's in the park? Like grass, oak trees. I love them all, but this is not the natural occurring, unspoiled creation of the plant world. And it's very, very rare for us as humans to interact in those environments. If you ever are lucky enough to go into one of those environments, hopefully you would feel the miracle of intelligence and information all around you, because there is a ton of intelligence in the way that plants are spaced, how their leaves are arranged to receive the light, and how the plant's energy fields are interacting with each other. It is literally a symphony or a library of profound sophistication, and it takes intelligence to perceive intelligence. So if you go there and you're like, it's a bunch of ferns, like like write a Yelp review. Very boring, just a bunch of plants. And I was hot and my feet were tired. Like sometimes people write that about the Grand Canyon or whatever, some amazing national park. But no, it takes an enormous amount of intelligence to recognize the sophistication of the patterns that are going on there. And also humans like you need to be much more exposed to those types of environments to be able to even imprint as a feral person on what is truth and what does it feel like to be in an information rich environment. Mostly I'll just be like sad or whatever. Mostly people don't even get a chance to feel the intelligence of plants and nature by living in one place for several years in a row. Like we live in a very transient world where people live in apartment complexes and they move around, and like, you might have decorative potted plants or an oak tree in your yard, but you don't get a chance to really attend to it because you're busy doing stuff and then you have to move. The primal human and the feral human, you would live in one place for a long time, and you would learn not only the architecture of how the sun and the stars and those sources of light move or transit and change, their times of intensity, their times of non-intensity, and how the growing cycles relate to plants, and then also how plants, like how their limbs grow, how their leaves grow, how some of them thrive in particular circumstances, some of them die off and do not thrive. So it takes, like, if anybody who's a gardener, this, like it takes time when you first move to a new home or whatever, the first year and you plant your garden, that's like, I don't want to say it ain't going to work, but it's like, it's not going to work that well because you don't know, like, where are the sunny places? Where are the places that have not good drainage? Where's the this? Where's the that? So you try to plant all these things and then you're like, okay, like none of this really worked. Now I need to change and fix things next year. It takes several years for you to get to learn about the natural rhythms of weather patterns and light patterns in your area, and then how best to foster plants in your environment so that they grow effectively. And like the primal human, you would live in one place for your whole life. You wouldn't traipse all around. You wouldn't have to. You wouldn't want to. And you would learn about how a tree grows over to 20 or 50 years. And you would learn about how sometimes, one year, one plant grows a lot, and then the next year it's not there and there's a different plant. So like not even in how the architecture of plants are arranged in the moment, but in the comings and goings, like the musicians. This musician joined the band, this musician left the band. Why did that happen? All of these are larger patterns of the architecture of light as it is expressed in matter. And I've had a lot of confrontation with the sun as, an inattentive, um, corrosive, and unhealthy element of nature that's harming our world right now. We have to give so much intelligence and recognition and respect and have an ally in the plant kingdom, because these plants are very benevolent, attentive to us, wanting to collaborate with us. Plants are wonderfully telepathic. You can talk with them or emote with them. I feel them all the time. Hopefully you do too. Like hopefully if you have house plants and if they're thirsty and they're like this, then you're like, oh, like I hear the plants. Like they're not okay. I better water them right away. Like you can tell when plants are getting fried or plants are thirsty, that you want to attend to them. And also, let me just hydrate again. Plants also are very badly destroyed by 5G. So 5G is not just a radiation, clearly, but the radiation and the millimeter wave, it has a negative impact on photosynthesis, has a negative impact on the efficacy of photosynthesis and what plants can do. I'm such a huge advocate for human beings to use supplemental melatonin, because what plants do when they are under stress, like having too much radiation from the sun or something like that, is they produce melatonin. So melatonin is not just for humans or vertebrate animals. It actually is a protective molecule throughout the natural world. And when animals are fried or get excessive sunlight or something like that, like you're a squirrel, you're a human, it's easy. Like you can run away. You're like, oh, like it's too sunny here. I will run away and go somewhere else. Like I'll go in the shade. I'll go where it's cooler. Plants can't do that. So what do plants do as a protection and survival mechanism? They create melatonin. And they will do that in their leaves, in the surface of what they are, so that when they are exposed to excessive radiation, they don't get fried. So please know that the world of plants and the miracle of what they do is very much under assault. Not only like taken for granted, blindly taken for granted, like, oh, it's just there's miracles all around me every day. And everybody also like stupid grass growing up in my garden, stupid miracles, right? Like trying to pull up the weeds and the things that aren't in the proper place, like people being so emotionally inconvenienced by plants growing where they're not supposed to grow because it's an amazing, voluptuous, vibrant, natural world, but also recognizing that you're not the only one under assault from the 5G and the radiation that is here. Plants are also profoundly under assault. And everything that we really have for our sustenance comes from plants. So I've given a lot of, I think, undue recognition to the sun, the stars, like, oh, everything we have comes from the sun and the stars. But really, like, if you want to survive as a human, you want to stay alive, you can't just stand here and, have light. I know in the world of Atlantis, I talk about that, and that's a different pristine world. Here in this level of reality, you're very dependent upon or interactively reliant upon and reciprocal with the world of plants. And you actually need plants. And if you just had sunlight, you would actually not be able to survive. That would be called like being fried in a desert and not surviving. So, yeah, you all need to love and respect and celebrate and recognize the miracle of photosynthesis and respect and celebrate plants in giving you not only food, but like the foundational building blocks for civilization, which has to, like, again, like you'd be fried in a desert, but you also, if you didn't have plants, you wouldn't have wood, couldn't build things. You couldn't, beyond food crops, you couldn't have something like a torch to light your way or something. You have very, very little. So much recognition has to go to plants, improve and heal your dynamic with plants, be appreciative of plants, telepathic with plants. Plants have amazing biophotonic energy or energy that you can receive without actually eating them. And so we're going to talk about ancient concurrent Atlantis. So in that world, we do not eat the plants like chomp, chomp, chomp. We eat a salad. Put some ranch dressing on that sucker and eat it. No, what we do is absorb and receive the biophotonic emissions of the plant. And so I would encourage you to do something similar as you're on your journey of light. All of this is very difficult or almost impossible with 5G going, so turn off 5G. But when you're able to do this, like, why is it good to be in your garden? Why is it good? Why is it sustaining and positive? Like, I'm giving words to something that gardeners probably already know innately. Like, you get an uplift from being around your garden. So beyond the materialistic needs of food goes in here, you chop up a leaf and put it inside of you for I would say combustion purposes. We are fed and sustained by the beauty and the vivification and the energy of plants that are around us. And that is mandatory, not optional. So as you are efforting to be on the path of light, I would encourage you to like walk around in wonder and appreciation of the miracles of photosynthesis that are around you, and also have plants around you, have a relationship with them. I have them all around my whole house. Like, I always have them like next to where I do my artwork, but then I have them here around this, and then I have them on my little like not really front porch, like my like front walkway area. And it's the best part of my day. I wake up in the morning and I go outside first thing and I look at them and I'm like, who's growing? Who's getting eaten by bugs? Like, what's going on out here? Really, really important. And the plants that I grow, like, some of them are for decorative purposes and some of them are for, food crops or something that will give to me eventually. But there's an important interrelationship that you, as the feral human and the, becoming master of light, having this relationship with plants, because really, like, you are a light eater, plants are light eaters, you and plants are really together, and you're having a reciprocal experience. Someone else is smart because they're also thinking, oh yeah, we're reciprocal because plants give off oxygen and I breathe oxygen in and I give off carbon dioxide to plants. And that's like a beautiful partnership and a match made in heaven, or like two flavors that taste great together, like whatever, chocolate and peanut butter. And the answer is yes. Answer is that you are meant to be in a beautiful reciprocity and balance in this level of reality. In Atlantis, things are different in terms of your need for oxygen and their need for carbon dioxide. But let's say in this level of reality, beautiful co-sustenance occurs when you have a balance of what humans or animals exhale and what plants, inhale or absorb. And all of that has to do with I won't go through a total litany, because just let me tell you, like, it's a lot to go through all of this and limited amounts of patience today. And I don't want to just reiterate. So if you would like to have the full teaching, please refer to another semester when I go through the full teaching. But basically, this has to do with carbon dioxide. When you are going to photosynthesize, what are the ingredients that you need to make matter? You need to have water, which is H2O. You need to have carbon dioxide, which is CO2. And then you need to have a smear of light. That's how science describes it. Like any old light, throw some butter on there. Like, no, you need to have specific light. Light is intelligence, because what light actually does is dictates, or I want to say conformity, tells how to conform these molecules into the matter that it's supposed to be, which again is non-arbitrary. So light dictates how these molecules should come together and how they should behave when they come together. So when they come together, you have the oxygen splitting off, and then you have the carbon, and you have these longer chains that are formed, and that is what creates first cellulose, and then in longer chains, glucose. All right, so that's the answer. Like, glucose is, we call it sugar. Just checking on Cheeky over here. It's a sugar that feeds your body. It is a positive life fermentive substance. So in teaching about this and in articulating it to others, I think that it did help me to reframe or recontextualize my consideration of what is sugar. So of course, I think that in health, and generalized in your health, probably you wouldn't want to live only on soda or honey or white sugar or something like that. But sugar is like an important part of your metabolism, and it's actually a miracle. It's actually a good thing. And what you want to do is, of course, balance what you have in terms of the glucose that's in freely available state in your blood and how much energy you're actually using at a time. So things that are defined by their rate of flow, things like time and light. These are things that you want them to be optimized in their flow. Your energy homeostasis must also be optimized in a flow. If someone gives you a ton of glucose into your blood sugar, and if you are not doing anything with it, you're not optimizing your flow, clearly this glucose would have to be stored up in some way, or it can cause health problems if there's an overabundance and an overprofusion. If any of you have ever done like babysitting or whatever, what happens when you give kids sugar? You give kids ice pops and they have sugar. And then what do? They run around. If you're a healthy feral human and you have a profusion of light inside of you that is called glucose, you're like, oh, I'm feeling energetic. I think I'll run around now. Only the sad domesticated human is like, here's your sugar. Drink giant big gulp. Now sit quietly and do nothing. That is a recipe for disaster. That is the overabundance of light in the body without actually making the body flow. So you have to attend to those natural metabolic tendencies for your homeostasis, and then the reverence for glucose becomes a positive relationship. People often look at glucose also like through the lens of insulin resistance or diabetes, like having too much glucose. And then also people are looking at like carbohydrates and how few carbohydrates can you possibly eat. Like that might be appropriate for certain levels of materialism and materialistic based healthcare. But from this class point of view, I'm giving you more of an ascended or accelerated viewpoint where at a certain point, you are not assessing food through the materialistic or merely caloric lens. You are assessing it through the lens of light. And light is also about timing. Like if you're just about to run a marathon, you need to have plenty of glucose in your body. You need to have plenty of stores in your body to be able to run. And then you're energized to be able to go. You guys know this is like intuitively obvious to you. So let's talk about, you have glucose that is created from cellulose chains, and then you are able to eat glucose, or you're able to eat an animal that eats glucose, all right? What is the opposite? The opposite is this form of digestion, which is actually called cellular respiration, that happens at the level of the mitochondria. Mitochondria are also like totally miraculous. We don't talk about them enough in this class, but the membrane of the mitochondria is really a type of quantum laboratory where your body is transforming glucose into ATP, and you're really separating out electrons from molecular structures and liberating electrons to be able to flow as a type of electricity or liberated energy in your body. So it's beyond your cognitive intellect, but gleefully, because the cognitive intellect is like, I want to say, incredibly flawed. People's minds are very badly shaped right now. So you should not be thinking like mitochondria, like do this now. The mitochondria should be like, we're in charge. Like you shut up. Like they should be like, there, dear. Like you shut up. We're in charge. Because you don't know what the F you're doing. All right. So don't like mess with your mitochondria until or unless you become at this level of acceleration and pure light. But mitochondria are very much a part of your light body, your anatomical light body, and they're a big part of your circadian rhythm, your homeostasis metabolism, your ability to walk and talk and do stuff, and when you're active and awake, and when you are sleepy and tired and need to rest. And all of that happens at this incredible level of the membrane of the mitochondria, where again, glucose is translated into the pure energy that your body uses. Science calls it ATP, which is adenine triphosphate. There's this complex chain events, series of events in order to get to there. So rather than go into that, what I would like to talk about is combustion in a simple sense of methane, natural gas. And again, I won't go through the whole litany. You can check out another semester. But combustion is the translation of matter back into energy. Photosynthesis is to translate light into matter, and then combustion or cellular respiration or oxidation is how you take matter and liberate it back into light. And you're like, Aurora, that sounds good. Like, I'm matter. I'm stuck in the Gnostic prison. I'm being silly. Life is hard. I'm stuck in matter. I want to go back to being light. And I'm like, well, you don't want to spontaneously human combust. And you actually don't want to get eaten by something or someone either. And you don't want to rust. No, what you want to do is accelerate. And that is how you are restored to light. So none of this is a exact analogy or an exact path. But when I wake up in the morning and I make my coffee, I am performing a miracle. The miracle is combustion. I turn on my stove, so I don't have an electric stove. Let me just check on she's doing okay. I might need to comfort her soon. I have a combustion stove, so it's like it runs on gas, and the gas is methane. And what I do in the morning is the miracle of taking the gas that is a potential matter substance and then adding a tiny amount of energy that is light to it. That's the spark. And then out of that a small amount of light, there comes the expression of an enormous amount of light, which is optical blue flame, heat to boil my coffee, and then any other type of information that comes off of there. That actually is an organizational principle to my water when I put it on top of the stove. So we have to also talk about the states of matter and heat as it relates to intelligence. Heat is not just random molecules bouncing against each other. It is actually a prescribed pattern of reality, just as light comes into photosynthesis and it's not random and it's not like falling down a gravity well and be like, oh no, like I fell into the world. Heat is not a bunch of random molecules like in a mosh pit smooshing against each other. Heat is a very miraculous and very intentional molecular dance. And it takes intelligence to perceive intelligence. So humans have, and materialistic science has largely ignored or under recognized the intelligence that is found in the molecular movement that is the result of heat. Science has even said that something that is like an ice cube that is solid and cold is more highly organized as crystalline structure than something like steam, which is the highly active and highly heated up or hot form of water. And the molecules are jumping around and moshing and doing all sorts of things. So science is like, whoa, ice cube, crystalline structure. That's intelligence. That's organization. These molecules like jumping around in my steam of my kettle. That's stupidity. That's less organized. They are wrong. So I am here to tell you that is a flawed premise. And it's important to be able to recognize that there are patterns that are so complex that the human mind or even human computational structures are not sophisticated enough to be able to perceive the complexities of those systems. But it's a hubristic flaw to be like, I do not perceive intelligence, therefore intelligence does not exist there. No, intelligence exists there profoundly. So for you to live in this world where there's biological life, there has to be enough innate intelligence or heat in the surface of the world to be able to make it so that oxygen is a gas, not frozen and cold and inert, and also water is liquid, and you can have the capability of these substances to actually do their bonding and unbonding. If oxygen is frozen, it can't jump into and out of the comfy chair and create these oxidative expressions that are like molecular behavior, combustion and oxidation. Like you can't change matter from matter into light if oxygen is busy being like, I'm frozen, I can't do stuff. And same thing with water. In order for you to have biological life, you have to have water that is hot enough, warm enough to be in its liquid state so that it can have relationships and interactions with different things. So in order to create photosynthesis, you need to have water. and you need to have carbon dioxide, and you need to have light, which is optical light, and of course chloroplast, but you need to have intelligence in the form of heat. So if you live in Antarctica, you grow a garden, no, Aurora, that's dumb. It's frozen there. Nothing grows there. How about if you live in whatever, Minnesota, and it's wintertime? Can you grow a garden there? You're like, no, Aurora, it is frozen. My ass is cold, and I can't do that in the wintertime there. I'm like, that is correct. There's not enough intelligence to support photosynthesis in these two ecosystems that I just described. So if you have planet that is not heated enough, then you can't have biological life there. And you can think of many places that you're like the cold, dead, whatever, moon of Europa, or the cold, dead, like it's always cold and dead go together in these verbal combinations. There's a reason for that. So it is very, very miraculous that the planet that you're on even has the correct amount of intelligence in the form of heat to be able to have oxygen and water at the correct states of matter. And then also you need for plants to have microbial action at the soil level, because photosynthesis in these scientific documents doesn't really recognize that you also need to have what's going on in the root. Mostly it focuses the energy on the leaf activity, but the leaves are sustained by the roots, and the roots require micromolecules in the mineral form, and the accessibility of the minerals is dependent upon microbes, which are dependent upon heat. So let's say you might have a place where it's very, very cold or very, very hot, and that microbes can't live in the soil. And those are places where plants can't live. So let's name one of those places, like the Sahara Desert. It's like, that's all sand. There are no plants there, very few plants. Why not? Because it's so hot. The microbes cannot live in the soil. They cannot liberate the mineral structures to then be able to be used as part of the larger aspect of the plant's growth system. So intelligence in the form of heat and getting that right, and having those dynamics and amounts of molecular movement is a critical aspect of the architecture of life and being able to sustain life and be so, this life that you live within, it is a very delicate situation. Not something, it is a miracle. It is a miracle just to have a garden, just to have whatever, a rose bush growing outside, just to be able to have enough balanced levels of heat on the surface of your planet to be able to sustain these complex biological dynamics that are happening. So what happens when you do combustion? You do combustion, you are taking something that is matter, and the light has been slowed down or stopped on its journey to be held in the form of matter. And then what you're doing is liberating it or getting it going on its journey again. So I joked already about spontaneous human combustion, but like if you're a painter, if you use turpentine, you know this. You can't just throw your turpentine rags in the trash. It will combust. So what you have to do is make certain that it doesn't light itself on fire. Mostly fires don't just start themselves. So that's what my joke is about. You don't just have a spontaneous thing that bursts into fire. You know this. What happens to start a fire? You have to have a spark or a match in ignition, a lighter, something that starts it. So in these complex equations about combustion, you start off with matter plus oxygen plus a small amount of light, then creates an interim state of liberation of light, wherein an enormous amount of light can be released. But that initial small amount of light is critical. It's the spark, or like I said, the ignition to start the chain reaction of happening. That's like saying you need to have matter and oxygen, the transformative element, but then also you need to have some amount of intelligence. Both of these, if I could just bring this to a summation, both the creation of matter through photosynthesis and the liberation of light through combustion or other processes involve the intelligence of light. The intelligence of light saying, I want to be stuff. And then the intelligence of light saying, time for me to stop being stuff and for me to continue to be light as I flow on my journey. So when you eat food, that's one way of liberating matter back into light. Let's talk about combustion. When I turn on my flame in the morning to make my coffee, some of that light reaches my eyes and it is liberated and it comes into me and it forms my perception. Or, I see it, it illuminates the kitchen around me. But then a lot of that light goes into the increase of the molecular movement of the water. And the water literally becomes more intelligent. And then that intelligent water makes coffee. And then the coffee goes into me and I become more intelligent. But truthfully, I know that's a good joke. Anytime that you are preparing food and adding heat to the food, you are making the substance more intelligent. There's really something there beyond the bioavailability or just like cut and dried way of looking at cooking food and human nature or human evolution and why I mean yeah, squirrels don't cook food. They just eat stuff raw. Why do humans cook food and then eat cooked food? And the answer is because beyond the bioavailability of cooked food, it is an increased level of intelligence that helps you to be smarter by eating more light and more intelligence. So wait, let me go through a little bit of this. I got combustion. I got this. Key points. The idea that when atoms are jumping from their neutral state, which is outside of the energy vortex or the microgravity wells, and they jump or fall into the next bond, that is when life or intelligence is released. So I think that everybody wants to think that intelligence is released when things break apart. Like the chains have been broken, and then light is released, flash of light is released. Actually, light is released when bonds happen. Light is released when bonds happen. And that represents an aha moment. The creation of and formation of matter as we know it is actually the expression of thoughts of a very, very great, very, very intelligent brain. And so when photosynthesis happens or molecular bonding happens, what is happening is a new ideation is occurring in the mind of divinity. In looking at matter through that lens, you recognize that these creations of matter are non-arbitrary. When you go beyond self-service and like the need for resources and like I'm me and I need stuff and I'm whatever, I'm hungry or I'm, I want to say desirous. I need stuff. Or I want stuff, or I want to make stuff, or maybe I'm a commodifier and I want to make stuff and sell stuff and get $1 million. This is disrespectful of matter. From the viewpoint of the path of light that I'm teaching you, matter is beyond sacred, like it's infinitely valuable, and it is infinitely valuable in its customized, bespoke, very specific nature, non-arbitrary nature. Both the ferns of Fern Canyon and the matter around you in the world is a gift of non-arbitrariness and a gift of intelligence. And the more that you can respect that and create environments that surround you with this type of intentional, specific, non-arbitrary matter, the better your own health, vitality, and mental state and intelligence and everything. Everything good that you want. Yes. And the opposite is also true. The more artificial and arbitrary and random the matter is around you, the more that it's garbage, the worse it is for your physical health, mental acuity, your own intelligence or viewpoint of the world, and your longevity and capability of going forward. want a natural environment made out of natural matter that is behaving naturally, not things that are artificially generated, artificially placed, and artificially sustained. Those things are an affront to matter. So have a completely different relationship with matter, the creation of matter and the use of matter, getting away from commodification, which is like, I'm going to chop down some trees and make some pencils and I'm going to sell them for 10 cents a piece. And I'm going to get money. Like we all need pencils because that's important stuff. Don't want to just destroy the intelligence of the world around us to create out of it toothpicks or pencils or something that we in our that in the smaller human limited viewpoint can be perceived as intelligence or a type of product that is worthwhile. In recalibrating and recontextualizing with your relationship with matter, move beyond commodification. So this is definitely becoming the primal human. Primal humans actually do not look at the world the way industrialized humans do, like a forest to chop down to make out toothpicks out of. Primal humans actually look at a tree and be like, this is the specific tree that I need to chop down to be able to make a dwelling or a torch out of or something like that. Not just turning everything into slop for the law of industrialization. Things are specific and things are created specifically, even in times of greater levels of care for the environment. People would specifically grow trees, like fast growing trees that they could, harvest or use, and then leave other trees unmolested. And then there's also this concept of paillard. It's like when you have a tree and you cut off its branches and you use some of its branches and then let it grow back for 5 years. And then you chop it again and let it grow back for 5 years. Like there are many different ways of being able to more conscientiously use and have a relationship with matter that are not exploitive. I think plastic is one of the worst affronts to nature and considerations of the human tendency to exploit matter because it's like long polymer chains, you can make anything out of it. I said, great, let's make a whole dollar store out of nonsense objects that are made out of these long polymer chains that are totally not natural. They're never found in nature and that you can sell inexpensively. So if you want to know what's the opposite of Fern Canyon and high intelligence environment, it's the dollar store. Go to the dollar store. Everything is plastic, long polymer chains, non-natural items, schlock, idiocy, nonsense, and cheap matter. So humanity still hasn't passed the schlock test. You've been given an amazing capacity in the ability to manufacture plastics. And mostly what it's been used for is a way to be able to do hyper commodification and hyper exploitation of both matter itself, the people who produce it, transport it, and even you as consumers. So I don't know if you need this soapbox, but like, don't shop at the dollar store and nobody needs that cheap plastic crap. But also, like, I have many things that are made out of plastic in my life that are useful things, like I have pens and fountain pens and stuff. That's good. You should make art supplies, but you shouldn't just make a store full of nonsense that is made just to make stuff and just for the stuff of stuff. All right, so that's very good. Let me talk a little bit more about matter rearrangement and atomic bonding as thinking. So when you think about that, matter rearrangement and atomic bonding is thinking intelligence is expressed in the natural expression or profusion or sustenance of matter in our world. Fake crap like plastic is stupidity. It's not intelligence and it's not thinking from like some higher source of actual intelligence. It is stupidity. A sign of new thought patterns is connection of the warping of the gravity of space-time and consciousness and light as a phenomenon, light creating the warping in order to come into matter as photosynthesis, and then space-time and consciousness warping as light is released in an aha moment. So what you're really looking at is this type of dance. This is the fabric of space-time. It's like it's up, down, like the tiny gravity wells are created, and then they pop back up, the molecules come together, they come apart, and you're watching this all the time. And this is this amazing molecular dance or foundational dance that the fabric of space-time is dancing all around you. For longevity and for respect and for reciprocity, you should dance with that fabric of space-time and not just simply find ways to exploit it. The materialistic viewpoint is the viewpoint of simply trying to find ways to comprehend, harness, and exploit those tendencies, but that's not a good relationship with the great thinker. The great thinker is really divinity that is thinking through these complex biochemical processes of matter coming into light and then, light coming into matter and then matter transforming back into light. Okay, so everybody's brains are liquefied. You're very relieved that you didn't get like totally excoriated like last week. I'm very pleased for that. Like I said, if you want to find out the exact mechanics, because I do go through the whole, I do drawings, everything like that, both in my recorded whiteboards and in previous semesters, I will invite you and encourage you to delve fully into that. But it's today and right now, it's not the time to be able to do that. And once again, for the people who are interested in participating in protecting the world of matter and space-time, you should contact Taking Action with Aurora at proton.me and start to organize some of the other wonderful people who are in existence who want to help me write my narrative for my next upcoming or ongoing graphic novel that I'm working on. Okay? Thank you very much. I don't know if there are any additional questions or comments, but I will tell you, like, I feel and I hear my dog kind of struggling here. And we are under 5G attack. Like, I feel how it feels like when waves of satellite come over and she struggles a lot and whimpers, and we both feel it. It feels like getting hot and microwaved. So we hate it. And let's end on that note. Join the book club. Join the book club. Join the book club, everyone. Okay. Thank you very much. Sorry to end on such a bad note. I can't even deal. All right. Thank you so much, everyone.